Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Ashland Planning Board meeting of Thursday, May 23rd, 2024. Calling the meeting to order at 7:18. As usual, the first thing on our agenda is the clerk's report from Kate.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have had one email to the correspondence to the Planning Board since our last meeting.
And how is our status on making sure we've responded to different things?
I'm up to date on anything the clerk could respond, and there hasn't been any new since I sent a few open ones to Peter.
Okay.
But I don't know if those have been closed.
Peter, do you think most
I think mostly everything has been responded to.
Okay.
I can't think of anything off the top of my head that I haven't responded to.
Okay,
So I think we're in good shape.
great, thank you. All right, moving on, we have an approval not required plan for 08494 Myrtle Street. We looked at this we looked at it at the last meeting.
Correct.
And, but do you want to tell us where we are on that, Peter?
Sure. So we did look at this last meeting, and there was a question regarding what type of use was checked off. On the first application came in, it was under mixed use, and so we requested a revised application. Then further, we had some questions that we wanted to talk to town council about. Well, first off, representing the plan tonight is Brian Hill, the certified land surveyor, and Matthew Eckel. Matthew Eckel is the attorney from Fletcher and Tilton. Hi, Matt. And so there was a question about the front setbacks and a setback of the existing garage. Myself, Alvaro, Matt, and Lisa Mead, town council, were able to jump on a meeting this past Tuesday and to discuss. And the takeaway was that the applicant has the right to an A&R, and to this A&R, they provide the appropriate frontage and the land area. Applying the A&R handbook, it was determined that the note on the plan, which is under the planning board block, signature block, it says the endorsement of this plan should be construed should not be construed to be a determination of conformance with zoning requirements. On the plan that you see in front of us that was submitted, that note was duplicated and also added underneath the zoning table. And so with that addition and that review by town council, she is okay with the plan as it exists today in front of the board. And I will hand it over to Brian and Matt. Brian and Matt, would you like to add anything? And/or we will open it up to questions that the board may have that you may have help answer.
Sure. I'll just start by just explaining the project really quickly for anyone who may have not been here next week or anyone in the public who wants to know what we're doing. We have three existing lots known as 0, 84, and 94. And we've been asked to reconfigure those three lots to meet the current zoning requirements. So we've made those smaller lots a little bit bigger so that they have enough land area. That's the general idea.
And just to add on that, just to eliminate any potential confusion, when he says make them zoning compliant, that is for lot size. So we are bringing these lots into more conformity by making sure they all meet the minimum lot area threshold. The other issue that was addressed was a pre-existing non-conforming front yard setback, which is not being exacerbated or created. There's no changes to the building. So as Peter mentioned, per the A&R handbook and normal procedure, because we've added that disclaimer, so to speak, relating to the board's endorsement not being construed as a determination of conformance with zoning regulations, we believe and we are requesting that it is endorsed this evening. We apologize for the wrong box being checked the first time around and any confusion that may have caused, but we think everything should be in order now. So thank you very much.
Because you said, Peter, there was a new application submitted with the different, the question Deepa had about the box being checked.
Correct, and that came in, and we stamped that in with the town clerk. It holds the date of May 21st, 2024. That's in everyone's packet. Then also they provided, one of the questions that came about, they provided, the business entity summary. And that is reviewing that Mr., I believe, Thomas Woods, who signed the A&R application, is I believe he is, excuse me, I gotta look at this. He is the president of the Long-Term Centers of New England Incorporated. And that is the current owner of the land area.
So Long-Term Centers is the owner, and Mr. Wood is the current president of that.
Correct.
Got it.
Yep.
All right, does anyone have any questions on this? Okay.
I do. So we actually signed something that will also have that same endorsement language, correct?
That is correct. So behind me, at the end of the meeting, there is a Mylar plan. That Mylar plan was received today, and that is reflective of what's in front of us here. And this is actually a PDF of the scanned-in Mylar that was stamped. But yes, this same exact map plan that we see in front of us right now has the same markings and disclaimer.
All right, if there's no other questions, I'll entertain a motion from the board.
I'll make a motion to approve the approval not required plan for 084 and 94 Myrtle Street.
I'll second it.
And before we vote, Peter, just to double check, this is an A&R. It doesn't, I don't think we have a big crowd anywhere, but it doesn't require public discussion, is that right?
Correct. Correct, it's A&R. It's just a manipulation of property lines, has no public discussion.
Not a public hearing. Okay. Then roll call vote,
Deepa Vakadai.
Anna Tesmanitsky, aye.
Catherine Jersey, aye.
and Tricia Kendall, aye. So that passes, and we will take care of signing at the end of the meeting.
Sure, yeah. Since Brian and Matt, excuse me, you're not here tonight, we'll sign it at the end of the meeting, the conclusion. We'll be here in the planning office tomorrow and/or Tuesday morning for pickup. So,
Thanks a lot. Have a good night.
all right, have a good night.
All right,
All
thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Okay, so next, we have our two public hearings, 6 Chestnut Street and 151 Main Street. Both of them have requested continuances, and I checked with Peter. The calendar is good on both of them, right, as far as us going through our process?
Correct, so just from a excuse me, just from a calendar standpoint, 6 Chestnut Street, we are in our, I believe it was our 72nd day. But with that said, we could fit in the next meeting with no issues. However, within the continuance that's in front of us, we are going to extend that date of final decision to June 28th. That would allow us a meeting on June 13th, and then a meeting, the following meeting. And so we're taking care of that matter.
And what about the other one? Sorry.
The same exact thing. So 151, we have had to push that out. And again, we're pushing out the date of final decision to after the second meeting in June.
Okay. So at this time, what I was going to do is, we have these, neither applicant is coming this evening. They both asked for continuances. But that said, we could start to go through some of the conditions, just any questions we have about that, get it ready for June, let's say, so as soon as they get their architect's drawings, and so we can have them in front of this. So what I was thinking about doing, if the board agrees, is to move those two things till later in the meeting, so that we can look at Joanne Drive, where we do have someone here. We can discuss have time to discuss the 40B letter with any detail that we want. And these two items actually don't need to be addressed tonight. It would just give us a little ahead of the game if we do have time. Does that sound good with
reasonable.
everybody? Okay. So we're not going to do these right now. We're just going to, we don't need to do anything. We don't need to official table them or anything, right?
Correct.
We'll just come back to it. Okay. So then next on our agenda is public hearing C, which is 13 Joanne Drive, a site plan approval application
Correct. So with that, please bear with me. I'm just going to read the public hearing notice into the record. The Ashland Planning Board will hold a public hearing on Thursday, May 9th. Please note on May 9th, we did continue this to tonight, May 23rd. At 7:15 in the second floor Select Board Hearing Room, Ashland Town Hall, 101 Main Street, Ashland, Mass., zip code 01721. This public hearing can also be found by joining the Zoom conference link. That Zoom conference link was posted on the agenda tonight, which was found on the town website. Furthermore, the Planning Board will hear the petition of TDC-223 Chestnut Place Property, LLC, care of Mark Donahue, 44 Brook Street, Manchester, Mass. 01944, requesting a site plan review and design plan review per Chapter 48, Section 6 of the Ashland Zoning Act, and Chapter 282, 9.6 design review, and 9.4 site plan review of the Ashland bylaws. The applicant is proposing the development of solar canopies structures within the parking area as an accessory structure. All work will be done within the limits of the existing parking lot. The property in question is located at 13 Joanne Drive, Assessors Map 24, Lot 046, and is within Residential A zoning district. Parties wish to be heard on this matter should submit comments to the planning board ahead of time and/or appear at the time of place indicated above. Materials may be viewed by appointment in Town Hall during business hours or on the town website where information was posted. For information or to submit comments, please contact Peter Matchak, who is myself, at 508-532-7927, or my email, pmatchak@ashlandmass.com. With that said, I will first introduce Mark Donahoe, who is here as the project manager and who is representing the owners and the applicants, in this case, the new property owners of Joanne Drive, Ashland Place, or it's Chestnut Street.
Chestnut Place is the name of the community.
Okay, Chestnut Place, which is a 8-building apartment complex.
And just before we begin that, I'm just going to make a note that our associate member, Amanda Hayes, would not be voting on this because it's a special permit, but she is also an abutter to the property, so she's removed herself from the table and won't be speaking on that subject. So with that said, I think we can go ahead.
Members of the board, can you hear me?
Yep, as long as that microphone is.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Mark Donahoe. I work for Echo Smart Solution, and we are a design and management company of energy projects or energy efficiency projects, such as large-scale HVAC and solar projects. In this instance, we're here before you seeking permission to install a canopy parking lot solar system at 13 Joanne Drive or Chestnut Place Apartments. This will be, fully located above the parking areas in the parking lot. Do you want to show the plans, Peter?
Yep.
It might be helpful.
I'm going to start showing the plans. Just a note in front of all the planning board members, there are the plans available for everyone to view in the 11 by 17s. They're not in the exact order that I'll run through these, but Mark, please feel free and discuss the plans, and I will cruise through the applications.
The bottom half of this plan shows the location for the solar panels. They're in two separate sections. And then obviously there's a Google Earth picture above. Peter, if you go to the next page, please. So that's a bigger picture of the location for where the panels will be located, raised above the parking spaces. That is a picture showing how the structure will be built, the steel columns and the frame where the panels will go up on top, showing how tall it is at its lowest point, which is 14 feet from the ground, from the pavement to the lowest point of the sloped canopy. Could you,
This is a detail.
if you keep going, there's a SWIFT plan.
Mm-hmm.
There it is. This detail on the bottom section shows your largest fire truck and the truck we were asked to do calculations on to show that it can fit around the structure easily and across the paths that the fire department asked us about. We met with the fire department beforehand to collect this information and make sure that we were presenting them with the proper plan. And the top of the fire truck is 11 feet 11 inches at the highest point, and our lowest point is 14 feet. So the truck passes, very easily underneath the bottom of this, as if it needs to. Quite frankly, the aisles, it's not in the aisles, except for the larger parking panels does span an aisle. But the trucks don't, the fire truck does not go down that aisle, according to our meeting with the fire department. Peter, could you show the landscaping plan that we created?
Yeah, I just have to,
Yep.
please bear with me, I just have to stop the screen share.
The area that we're seeking to put this is deep into our property. It's not near the road. And the parcel is surrounded by quite a healthy grouping of trees. And we have a landscaping plan showing the back of the parking area and the amount of 50 feet of trees in between the neighbor, the nearest neighbor, and the parking lot. But I think the better example might be the aerial picture, Peter, that was sent to you that have the panels dropped onto a Google Earth map.
Just before I leave this page, does anybody have any questions on this cross-section?
That's the first page you gave us.
Yep. All right. Please bear with me again.
So on this plan, you can see that there is a good amount of tree coverage around the back end and the sides of the structure that we're intending to install. So we feel that it is very well shielded from the neighbors and should not, is not an eyesore, if you will. And I think this graphic shows that best. This canopy system will be entirely tied to the grid, so all the energy that it produces will go right into the grid for Eversource.
Are there solar panels on the buildings, on the roofs of the buildings now?
So there are 6 buildings on the site, and we have installed them on 5. We're doing a roof repair on the final building. And, that should be done in the next 30 days, and then that last building will also get solar panels.
So is that, this is like an older, am I just not seeing them on there? Because I thought there were solar panels.
This is probably an older picture
Okay.
before the panels were
Weren't
installed.
on there.
They were installed in the last 3 months.
Oh, okay.
So this
Yep.
picture probably does not grab that.
Just a note, Mark and Mark's company has also been looking to update, and they have updated the HVAC systems throughout some of the buildings, and I think that's an ongoing process as they try to invest capital. The new ownership invests capital in the apartment buildings.
We typically have a multifaceted approach to the apartments that this owner buys, and we're usually doing a combination of energy efficiency modifications. Almost always HVAC, almost always solar. And obviously we're here for this parking lot canopy system.
And I think all these units are, at least all these buildings at the bottom, they're double-loaded corridors where the units are always
That's
looking out
correct.
the long sides and not out the short sides. Is that right?
Yeah, and the corner units have
Get a
two
little
views,
bit,
but yes,
okay.
yes, that's correct. They're looking out the sides, and there's a corridor down the center.
Mm-hmm.
So Tricia, the way you were growing is to make sure that nothing is getting reflected back on those units.
Yeah, kind of wondering, because there'll be, let's see, if the short side is 14 feet, and these are three-story?
These are three-story.
Apartment buildings?
Yep.
And, but like I said, I think
There-
there's fewer windows on those sides,
The sides, so the building's 19 is the bottom long building on the far right of the plan, that long building that on the end, the canopy system is there. And the other building is building 20. Those are the ends that face the canopy. And there are end units that have, I think, one window with that view. I know we're going into design review. We could talk about that question. I'm not in a position to answer a technical question like that. That's outside of my area, but my engineer certainly is able to. But these are not going to be tilted dramatically. They're going to be almost flat. I know that the slope, there is a slope to it, but it's not a steep slope. So I would be surprised if that is an issue, but we can certainly bring it up in our design review.
I have a couple of questions. So the fire department asked for the truck analysis. Did they see that and comment and confirm yet? Or
So, yeah, so to tell you that, so Mark and his team have been back and forth
Yep.
with us, and we've met a few times with the fire department. The fire department has taken a look at these plans. Yep,
They're
and they're okay with it.
Okay.
Yep. But for our next meeting, we'll get something. I think I have something in writing, but I think I may have not put it in the packet, but I
Okay.
can definitely do that.
And then for the incoming utility stuff, there's like a detail of the transformer, and somehow the planning board seems to get noticed by the public if we don't try to put screening around those kind of things. Do you
Okay.
have any screening plan for that, or what's the location?
Well, there's a fence. Peter, could you go back to the original, or actually just zoom in on that? Behind Building 8, which is the closest to, I think, Chestnut Street, at the very entrance to Joanne Drive. Yep, that's 8. If you could zoom in, it's going behind the building, along the fence line. Right there where your hand is, see those two boxes drawn? Those are the two pieces of equipment that are going in. And there's a fence along that. That's a 6-foot-high fence that blocks the neighbor's view of that. But I'm happy to discuss something more, but that's at the back of the building, within 6 feet of the fence or 7 feet of the fence. I'm guesstimating off of the last time I stood there.
And does that need, I mean, it's just your little sketch, but like bollard protection?
It does have bollard
Okay.
protection. If we go to the white plans, the first set of
The site
plans.
plans, yeah.
There are details in the package for the bollards that are required, but it absolutely has bollards. That's an Eversource requirement.
And then so there's no change to like incoming utility infrastructure besides this is underground, so you're not
This
gonna-
is underground, and it's self-contained, meaning it doesn't touch anything that's existing, because it doesn't touch the buildings in any way. It just flows, it flows off the property and into the grid.
into an existing pole. They're not adding a pole or anything.
They are adding a pole on our property. There are a couple of poles right at the edge in the corner of the building, close to the road. If you could just swing to the right.
These are the
Yep.
two new utility
So those two
poles.
poles at the street, they have to jump, so that's a new pole. Sorry, Peter, the one on the bottom of the triangle, that is a new pole. that Eversource will install, and then the underground will run along, basically straight back to those transformers.
And what happens to the parking? Is that parking right along there? That would be next to the transformers? I mean, would that be, is it,
Yes, it's taking one parking space.
is it just out of scale on our drawings? It doesn't look like you would be able to, what am I not saying here?
Yeah, it's funny, the parking spots,
There's two, would both rectangles have,
I believe one of them is cross-hatched already, but I can confirm that in design review, Peter. My memory is that one of them happens to be a half, it's like half, it's not even wide enough to be a space, and it's cross-hatched. And then the other one is a space.
so in entering these parking spots between 8 and 14, is that the drive aisle?
Well, I'm kind of wondering that. 'cause
Yeah,
it
how do
doesn't
they-
Sorry.
look-
where the two rectangles are, it's almost like two cars that need to go up there to park, so, or am I reading that wrong? or-
Because,
Is that another access way that we need to make sure is not blocked?
I understand that it's drawn that way, but they're not in the drive aisle.
okay,
They're off to the side, partially in in that strip of land. There's a 4 to 5 foot strip of land that runs along that property. It starts in there and bleeds into the parking space, and then the bollards are, it's 2 or 3 feet into the parking spaces, where the cars would pull in. So I didn't notice that detail as you described it, but that's certainly not blocking the drive aisle.
just, and I say that only in respect because, in this first time I've looked at these, but I realized that obviously these are 45-degree angle parking spots, right? Running, so if you were gonna pull into these parking spots, it looks on this plan like you'd be coming through 8 and 14 to pull in head-on.
Understood. I will,
Does that seem funny when you look at it?
it does, but I have the benefit of having been standing there with
Yeah.
Eversource and talking to them about how much space they needed so we could begin to draw this. I'm happy to do a blow-up of that area for the design review, Peter, to solve that issue or solve the graphic of that issue.
I think we just have to I think you and I can just go out and ground truth
Sure.
it, and then
Yep.
I can photograph it.
Yeah, I'm also curious, the parking lot is inside this property or in the neighboring property? Because the red line is what says it's property line.
Yeah, that is a little funny.
But the parking spot is on the other side of the property line.
All of the parking spots shown here,
So that line that Peter is hovering over is
I
indicated as
think
property
that
line.
is, forgive me, that's the telephone pole that we were just pointing
No,
at.
but that shows us
The purple.
that is indicated as property line on this side of the plan.
Yeah, there's an arrow, it says property line.
Yeah, I'll have to study that. I know that the property line is where the fence is, beyond the parking spaces, but I can see how that is confusing.
I have two questions. I looked into some decisions of planning boards on solar canopies over parking lots because I figured there'll be other examples. So I found one from a planning board in New Jersey, actually. So it's a little different from Massachusetts, but I guess New Jersey has more of these. So one thing they thought about was having certain gaps in the structure to allow rain and melting snow to pass through the structure. And they were concerned about stormwater inlets and wanted to make sure that things were draining correctly, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, this is not a solid roof.
Yep.
It is a structure to put the panels on, but there are gaps
Okay.
throughout.
And has there been some thought put in as far as stormwater management and where things are draining and how close we are to the various storm sewer inlets, all that? Is this in any way going to change how,
It doesn't change the grading at all.
that's what, okay. And then the other issue that they had looked into, or at least their design review committee looked into, was the removal of any lighting installations and adding under canopy lighting Because essentially, once you have that cover, it's darker during certain times of day, and adding, or certain times of night, adding lights underneath to assure safety for cars and humans.
Yes.
What
So-
about that?
So we are taking out 2 light poles for the larger of the 2 panel sections, as shown, but we are adding lights underneath the canopy.
So I think we may, I mean, at least that particular planning board had their design review committee look into that. And
Okay.
we may want to consider doing that. And that particular planning board worked with the applicant to come up with certain hours of operations for the lights under the canopy to assure safety for pedestrians, et cetera. Obviously, New Jersey's different from Ashland, and I don't know where this was, but these are just things that I
But
wanted
that's
our
a
board to.
universal, you know, that's a,
Right, exactly.
we are going to be putting lights underneath.
Yep.
We don't want to have anyone tripping underneath
Yeah.
because it's dark. Yeah, or-
Understood. And then the other issue was tree removal. Are any trees being removed or landscaping changes?
There are 3 small, I'm going to call them crabapple trees.
Yep.
One is dead, and the other 2, these are from the original development in the early 70s, so they don't last very long, so they're very diseased, all 3 of them, and about to fall down. But yes, we're taking out 3 small, 10 to 12-foot high apple trees. 2 of them are located on, I'm going to call it the skinny panel section. There's one on either end of that location, and then there's one on the island of the top left corner of the large panel section.
So my only thought was, you know, are you open at all to some landscaping features to kind of, that was one of the things that particular project looked to, hey, these trees are being removed, we're building this thing, let's add, you know, a little bit of landscaping on the sides and so forth. So I was just thinking for, if this is going to design review, those were the 3 things I wanted to think about. Stormwater, lights underneath, since we're removing light on the outside, and then some landscaping, since we're removing 3 trees.
So that's a good point. And about the trees, if they're removed from the parking lot, they're probably the required trees for that heat island, which is now, like, we're taking advantage of the heat island with the sun. But I think it should be looked into if we can require tree replacement, not just landscaping.
Or, I don't know if we can require, but is a special permit or?
No, this is site plan review.
Site plan review.
So
So-
just to make a note is that, so solar energy now is an exempt use under section 48, section 3 of the zoning of the state MGLs.
Yes, and it's great, and
Yep.
I think it's exactly where we should all be going. But it sounds like we can have a conversation about certain things, such as adding a little bit of landscaping here and there to kind of
We can.
augment the fact,
We can
mitigate
have
the
a
fact that
conversation
we're
about it.
removing some trees. But those were the 3 things I
We
would,
wouldn't, sorry to cut
Yeah.
you off. We wouldn't want to put them where the existing trees are now because
Certainly.
they could grow
Of
up
course.
into the panels.
absolutely, yeah.
but
I mean,
we would-
find other areas
Yes.
around this project.
We could certainly replace those 3
Yeah.
trees.
Healthier trees.
Or landscaping, or landscaping features. I don't think even it has to be a tree necessarily, just thoughtful landscaping elements. So for me, those were the 3 things I wanted design review to think about if we are gonna send this to design review.
Sure, so I could talk to Peter about what he might want to see. We're happy to interact on that and do something to replace those 3 trees with trees and/or bushes or, you know, whatever we feel
Or
is
more,
appropriate.
if you have it.
Well, I think given the other conversations we have about tree bylaw and so on, it might be, I mean, I've been up to this site many times, actually. But I can't quite remember where all the landscaping is, where the tree, or what it is. But just given the tree bylaw conversations, it would be nice if there is a proper opportunity to replace it in a place where a tree would thrive. If a tree's not going to thrive in this location, then it's just a waste of money and something else should be planted. But worth looking at it as kind of the top of the list as best option and then going down to other options, perhaps.
We could, when we tour the site, for to look at the other issue, we could look at that issue.
So I think, are there other questions from the board? So, so this is a project which would go to design review because it's
It's site plan approval?
site plan approval. It's a lot more than 6 parking spaces, obviously. So, and we would have obviously a short list of things or, that we've talked about that we'd pass on to the design review committee. I think in doing that, also the thing that would be helpful for them, and we can make a list of this as well, Peter, just so it's easy for the applicant, of things that we mentioned that we would want to kind of make sure are available. One is kind of double checking the property line. So I don't question that it's not in the right place, but it's very confusing on the plan.
I agree.
Yeah,
I've looked at it so many times, I didn't
Don't even see it, yeah.
But,
Yeah.
I agree.
The other thing would be that, as you mentioned, kind of the enlarged area where the transformers go, because it looks like you can't even go down those aisles because there's 2 huge transformer pads, which I doubt is the case.
That,
Right.
understood.
Yeah.
And that might be it's not drawn accurately enough
Yeah.
for you to make an informed decision.
Certainly makes sense at this scale, but without an enlarged plan, don't quite know how it works.
Those transformers are, I think, 4x4, like they're
I think
nowhere
it
near.
looks like there's a photograph of one on the last page.
Detail, yeah.
They're actually not anywhere near as big as that plan depicts.
Right.
Even the pad that they go on isn't that big, like the
It's just
concrete pad.
hard for anyone to approve a plan
Agreed.
that blocks a road. So-
Yep.
And the other thing I would suggest, for your presentation to the design review committee is having some photographs of the site, especially those end conditions of the buildings.
Okay.
Because like I said, I've been up to this site quite a bit, but I don't know how many have, and it would help alleviate some of the questions when you can explain those things. I'm just putting them at the
I'm
the
just trying
things
to
that
get
are.
the buildings.
19 and 20.
It says 22 on here, is
Yeah.
that?
The building number is 20. I don't know if.
Oh, maybe because each building, like the buildings are 7, 8, 13,
7, 8,
14,
13, 14.
19, and 22
Yes.
on here.
Oh,
But maybe, I didn't know if they were subdivided into more buildings?
no.
Take a look at it.
Okay, so take a look at what that number is, just so we're. But other than that, and obviously Anna's things will be included with the note to the design review committee.
Sounds like a plan.
So is that something, again, that Peter and I will work on putting it together, that memo? Deepa, do you want to take a look at it maybe, or Cindy?
Sure, I just would add that when the angle of the solar panels is, the lower point is towards 8 and 14, the same concern of the buildings behind it, we should just be mindful of the buildings in front of them, because it looks like the facade of 8 is a lot more, it's going to see that panel at an angle. So just making sure that there's no too much reflection from the panels to that, and it looks like it is also north-south.
Do you mean 14, the long side of?
8 and 14, 8 seems to be towards,
8's really far away from it, though. Is that?
it's 8 and 14 is the one which is next to the transformer, right?
Oh, the 8's next to the transformer, yeah.
Yeah.
And 14 is,
So the-
14 is between the transformer.
Yeah, so the angle of the panel, so literally the low side point is
Okay.
towards those
Okay.
two buildings.
Okay,
If it's a north-south orientation of the panels, it will be
that's right, would be tipping.
all through the day reflection. So, I mean, just from design point of view, something to look
Yep.
at so that it
Sure.
doesn't disturb the people's, trying
That's a
to
good
look out
point.
the window.
Yeah, okay. All right, do you have any questions for us, or
I don't.
anything that wasn't done clear? Okay.
No, and, you know, pretty generally expected conversation, so, yeah.
And then, since it is a public hearing, I will open it up to public comment if if anyone's out there.
So there's nobody here in the room, just a note for the record, and at this point, I see nobody online with their hand up. There are 2 people in the room besides us online. No,
No, I think that's his cursor.
that's my cursor. Rob is a member of our Sustainability Committee. But yes, I see no hands up.
Okay, then I think obviously we'll be looking to continue this until the Design Review Committee has a chance to see it.
So next steps, we'll obviously continue this meeting with the planning board until, June 13th. And then the planning office will work to get this in front of the Design Review Committee, and we'll continue to work together, and we can set up maybe a ground on-site meeting and take a look at some of these issues.
Great, thank you very much.
Make a motion to continue 13 Joanne Drive site plan approval application to June 13th.
Second that.
And a roll call vote.
Deepa Venkata.
Anna Tesmanitsky, aye.
Catherine Jersey guy.
And Tricia Kendall, aye. So we will see you in June.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Let's see if I help. We'll talk soon. Yeah.
Okay, so, again, we'll need to officially go back to the other public hearings to officially continue them. Don't let me forget to do that, Peter, or anybody. But then next on our agenda is the 10 to 60 Main Street discussion and the ongoing letter that we've been putting together.
And actually, I have. So
Okay.
actually, I just printed it out, so it's not in your binders. So. Hold on.
Tricia, do you want me to explain what you and I did?
Please.
So Tricia and I, Tricia did a very thorough read-through of, well, let me start from the scratch. So we started, Amanda and I started first. So Amanda and I did one thorough work product all the way through, including the conclusion. If you recall, we had agreed that she and I would kind of do a big picture evaluation. Then Tricia did a second read on top of that and caught a couple of things that I then jumped in and corrected. So the latest version that you're looking at now is Tricia's read-through of Amanda's and my changes, and the blue is my latest changes that I did an hour before today. So to explain what the blue is, I think Tricia's are pretty obvious because it's all about, I would say me, Tricia, and Amanda just kind of cleaned it up and added a strong conclusion. The blue stuff, so that we're clear, we were in Safe Harbor as a community from August 2nd, 2020, excuse me, let me say this correctly the first time. From August 3rd, 2021 to August 2nd, 2022 was the actual Safe Harbor, so about a year. Technically, we were supposed to be in Safe Harbor until August 2nd, 2023. Okay, so the way to think about it is during the course of the project, the application, the original project, the application comes to us July 2022. At that point, we're in Safe Harbor, right? Then within a month or so, we lose Safe Harbor as a community. Okay, we were supposed to have Safe Harbor for another year. So obviously, any reference to the concept that this was in Safe Harbor for the entire duration of the project in front of us has been removed entirely, because that's not, any hint of that is not accurate. So the blue makes it a lot more accurate. All that being said, the way this was supposed to work, the way Safe Harbor works, is technically this project was in that Safe Harbor 2-year period. The only reason we lost it is because of a lawsuit. So I believe it's still relevant for the state to understand that Ashland essentially is not a fair or appropriate candidate for 40B pressure, because essentially we did enough work as a community that we were supposed to be in safe harbor all the way to August of 2023. I will also add, and I did not make any changes to this, but in reviewing the minutes for tonight's presentation, I noticed in the April 18th discussion that we had at the comprehensive plan with the select board, with the consultant, the issue of how many units does Ashland actually need to hit 10% came up, and the consultant opined it was 400. And so we may want to think about adding to our comment that to change the entire vision of our downtown over an arguable gap of 400 units is somewhat tragic, and that there's other places in town where that might be more appropriate, such as the other 40B project that's being proposed closer to the high school. So I didn't add that to our comment, but we may want to think about that, about adding something like that.
And Peter, if I'm looking at, if I understand your numbers, it looks like it's like
318.
318, yeah, a little closer to 300.
Yeah. So just to make a note, Anna,
Yep.
I did on my own, I did just kind of clean up the SHI.
So is this the most
Outlook.
recent?
Yeah, so
Yep.
this is the most recent, and just looking at what we had in, and I grabbed it from an old memo, is that I took out all the 2010, obviously, because that's not relevant. And I just made note that in June of 23 of last year, that's when the state actually adopted the 22 census numbers. And so it's been about a year now since the 2020 census numbers have been adopted by the state. Now that changes obviously the denominator when you start factoring in subsidized housing inventory. And then what I did in the memo that I see, I think we glued 100 Chestnut Street and 501 Pond Street in as one, and I just broke those apart. And that's all I did.
So arguably, this shows that once the lawsuit for Arbella is concluded, assuming it goes our way, we are above 10%.
Correct. And just to make note that 12 Pond Street has been added to the subsidized housing inventory. I confirmed that with the state since our last meeting. And then, yes, Chestnut Street would add, I believe it's 18 units. 501 Street would add 120 units. And then our Bella at Ashland would be 180 units. And so we would get to, yes, 10%.
So I think there's a sentence on page 3 in blue where it says, importantly, that litigation is ongoing and those units could come on or onto our SHI again in the very near future. I'm thinking right after that, we can make a reference to this newest memo and just say, hey, see this newest memo showing that essentially with that litigation addressed, we are.
Yeah, all I was thinking about is replacing the chart I just made.
Yep.
Well, the chart I updated with the chart that you had in the memo on page 4.
Hold on. So the only reason I think that was relevant is this was our reality at the time that the project was in front of us.
Okay.
So the intent, I think, that that Amanda and I had when we first drafted it was to sort of show the history of like, hey, when this project was in front of us,
Okay.
we were essentially at, close to 10%. And it's up to the board if we want to like say, hey, this is our current reality versus back then. But I think both have a benefit. Like, in theory, we can share both with the state because that reference is the 2023 memo. But I think we could maybe insert this right after and be like, here's our most recent version.
Whatever it is,
So-
I am happy
yeah.
to send it to you. I just, it's just looking at the memo that's in this, I just, in my head, we just glued a lot of projects together, and obviously this
Yeah,
was
yeah.
done at a time prior to the release and/or the adoption of the 2020 census numbers. And so that's why I think it goes
Yeah.
back and forth between 2010 as you can see, in 2010, our our total year-round houses
Yep.
was 6,581. Well, in 2020, we have grown to 7,495.
Should we,
Yeah, and at that, oh, sorry.
no, go ahead, Tricia.
I was just going to say, at that time, we already knew basically what our census number was. So we were already doing those calculations for 2020,
Well,
right?
we only
weren't
had the September 2023 SHI memo at that time, which was that one. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that was our reality at the time of that project. I like this new chart. I think it's great. I just think that we should just clean this up. So like right now, this section on page 3 references our reality in September of 2023. Like right after the withdrawal of August, this little chart was our reality. Meaning, hey, state, during the course of the project, look how close we were. That's kind of the intent of that section. So then we could add this and say, you know, not only were we close to 10% during the course of the project, we're still there.
Yeah, no, I
See
think,
new memo.
Yeah.
Okay, so it kind of like reinforces it, like, it was true then, and it's still true today. Nothing has changed.
Do we think maybe it's, rather than embedding it, I worry about embedding 2 and then sort of like losing the flow of the letter. Maybe just making them both like addendum at the end, and we can drop footnotes.
And just
as we
refer to it.
reference them. Yeah.
Yeah.
And say like, here's what it looked like when the project came before us. Here's what it looks like now, and if this litigation resolves, we're
I like that.
back in sort of.
Yeah, just have like one
Yeah.
document that just says, this was effective September 2023, and this was effective today.
As long as the kind of the numbers and the metrics start to, like, for example, am I reading this table wrong? But there's Arabella listed twice in this table.
It's because of the 2010 versus 2020 census, right?
correct.
It's like a difference, so
And
that's why it's a different color.
accounted here in this chart.
That's because this is Peter saying that he just wants this to reflect like.
Yeah,
the
so
current
this
time.
chart right here was done at a time where it was, so the 2020 census happened, right? And so there's, obviously they have to count the data, but number one, that after the data is collected, you have to clean the data, right? And then the biggest thing the state has to do is when you're talking about the subsidized housing inventory, the SHI, is that the state has to clean it, and then you have to go deeper into the data, because what you also have to remove is part-time residential housing, right? So, and it's not here in Ashland, but think of a town such as Barnstable, right? Barnstable on the Cape, right? So their subsidized housing inventory is based on year-round year-round occupancy in the houses. And so then they have to clean the data and remove it. And so that's about a year process from the state standpoint. And so that's why there's this large lag time, and that the census numbers do not get adopted by the state until June of last year. And so when this memo was put together, what we were doing is we were juggling the 2010 numbers, which was solid, the 2020 numbers, which is an estimate. And you can tell this is an estimate because I had 7,495. Well, the true number that was adopted by the state is 7,456. And so the state's estimate was about 40 housing units off. And so this number's true today, 7,456.
If we're moving them, I think probably some of that explanation, a little cleanup, like just like you'd see in a textbook, notes or whatever, or sub thing. It needs a little notes. To put them, no matter where they are, two together that are similar.
So it's not just a label, but a chart with just a little bit of
Yeah,
explanation on the
think so.
bottom. Yeah.
I mean, I kind of like the way Amanda framed it, so I don't know if you're comfortable taking a stab and sending that to Peter. Like, I like the way you thought about it.
Yeah, we can do that.
My one last question is, in this notes that we have, following the approval of Arabella Ashland 40B development in August of 2021, Ashland's SHI rose to 9.1%. So we go down between 2020 and 2021?
So what happened there within 21 and why we jumped up to 9 is because in 2021, that 9.1 reflects the addition of the 180 units from Arbella, but also we're still calculating using the 2010 census numbers.
Okay.
And so when you subtract Arbella because of the litigation, and then you add in, so you're losing 180, right? And then you add in the roughly 800 units that the town built in the denominator between 2010 and 2020, it gets, you know what I mean? You drop that much, yeah. In every town, just to make note, who is at, and Tricia and I talked about this today, if you were a town at 11, 11 and a half, 10 right over there, last June when the 2020 census numbers were adopted, boom, you're down now below the required 10%. And so it's an annual thing. It happens every 10 years, and it's an ebb and a flow.
Can you guys remind me when this has to be finalized for Michael?
I would say Wednesday, Thursday at the latest.
Did we get another extension? Because wasn't it like May 27th or something?
That's when the letter is due to
Oh,
Mass Housing.
yeah, okay. No,
Yeah.
I'm just,
Yeah, because isn't
I
the
guess I'm off on
27th
my dates.
Monday? No, the Labor Day. is the
23rd,
27th.
24th,
Day.
25th.
Memorial Day.
Memorial
is
Day, sorry.
Monday.
Yep,
Memorial
wrong
Day.
side of summer.
It's okay. So,
Which would be tomorrow, Lisa.
Yes.
I know.
I mean, I can take a stab. It sounds like what we're gonna do is we're just gonna say C and then refer to an exhibit. I can work with Peter on that.
Okay. I can send you the exhibit right now.
Well, what is the best, so we went through that, like, which is, I think
Yeah.
is a critical thing. What's the best way for us to use our time at this meeting? I mean, when I was going through, I focused on the parts I didn't write, which was Amanda's and Anna's, and then, which is the beginning. I thought it was great the way you very clearly structured it, so that, that made it much, try to get this all into one document. That made a lot of sense. And then that conclusion I thought was important, like, we don't think we're a part of this, but if we are, this is what we want. I thought that list was really important. So I'm just wondering, and frankly, the stuff that I helped write, which was in the middle, I kind of went over it, but I was getting so weary of like reading my own writing that it would be better if someone else took a pass at it.
I mean, I think we're good because me and Amanda read all of your stuff.
Okay.
As long as everyone has a chance to review, has reviewed this, I think we're good.
Yeah, but there's definitely, there's
Yeah.
like editing typos in here for
Yeah.
sure.
So let's go through them.
So that's one way, like we normally do at the board, we bring it up and we do it. But I don't know if that's the best way.
I mean, what I was gonna say is, why don't we go page by page? There's a lot of like yellow holes that we can just confirm who's filling it in. Like, is Peter gonna fill it in?
Well,
Yeah, I have a lot of those. To tell you the truth, I have a working document. I have a little working sheet,
Yeah.
and I've kind of filled in many of those
Okay.
holes, so.
So Kate, are you,
I mean, I have some edits, I have a section that I wanted to discuss, like it's just updating something there, but besides kind of smaller type things that not unimportant, but also information for the state.
yeah. No, what I'm wondering is, like, Peter has information to add in. Are you comfortable, maybe you're the one making the changes on the fly, if that's something you're comfortable with, and. Okay, I mean, it's just more a question. I mean, Peter can do it too, if that's what we're doing. It's just, it's something obviously we'll have to have up, and,
Yeah, I can.
what is the little text thing at the bottom? That's,
You know what? That's new.
Guessing that's,
It is doing closed caption.
is that what?
It's doing closed captions, so whatever you're speaking is getting.
good, because one day I won't be able to hear you.
I thought it was making like automatic meeting minutes or something.
That would explain our minutes.
I thought that's what it was
Okay.
doing, because it's literally.
AI.
It's closed caption.
It is a little creepy, but We've had more creepy things online, so.
Yeah, that's true.
As long as AI doesn't think it's creepy, we're talking about it. No.
They wrote out creepy.
That's great. Okay.
On the material, so I think this is more than one place, but it's like, we call it shared housing, but it's subsidized housing.
Where, which page?
Well, it's up, right on the first page, but it's like, it's in about the middle bullet, it's like.
Yeah, it's the exhibits.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, that's subsidized.
And it's quite a few places, actually, but that's.
So maybe Peter can do a search through. So,
Also, well, we have to know which of these, sorry, we have to know which of the memos we're actually referencing, so because we have a lot of them in the exhibit list, and not all of them we're using this most recent one, which I think is not listed here.
so keep in mind that these are materials reviewed and referenced. We don't have
okay,
to
yeah.
reference them all.
Yeah.
We're telling the state we reviewed these. We don't necessarily reference them. But to your
Okay.
point, Peter said, so the last SHI memo I could find was from September of 2023. Peter thought there was a more recent one. I don't know if there is. But this one, the one he brought today, we should put a date on it.
Yep.
Right.
And it should be called a memo of
included.
May 23rd.
Yeah.
So we should add that to the bottom of,
And then
The
definitely
materials.
remove the note about Peter thought this
Yeah.
is the most recent.
so we're gonna remove Peter thought this is the most recent.
I'm sorry.
So before we start making all these changes, I mean, Peter's working on the table over here.
Okay.
Kate has her computer open, you're making notes, so it's like,
Uh,
where are we?
Well,
Yeah.
That's-
Peter has a version, I think, later, so if I'm.
So
doing
I,
it,
to say, so if you want to do it on yours, that's great, and I'll stop the screen share. What I have is,
Go.
so this is Anna's, what I have in front on the screen behind you is Anna's latest and
Latest, yeah.
greatest.
I
That-
I can
can't be
send
the
you
one
that.
that-
I can send you that. Or I can try to edit that
You can-
if you're not editing
But
it.
can
Okay,
we
if you-
screen share, because that's, I think, helpful. I mean,
I can do the screen share,
Oh.
and then Anna can just edit.
Okay.
That's no problem, but you're not going to see the
you won't
edits.
see that.
But you have
Okay.
this.
Yeah.
But you have the printout of Anna's.
I just need to open it. Just give
In
me a
the
second.
early sections of the exhibits or the bullets, there are non-highlighted places where we had like thoughts, open thoughts. So demolition bylaw of dash dash.
So
dash,
I
dash,
would
dash, that's
highlight
not
that one. I
right.
think I found it later on, we can go back.
There are
Well,
lots,
actually,
there,
so
it's
like-
more than this, and then
No, I
adopted
know.
at town meeting and, like, I just wanna make sure that we're.
I have a lot of that information. I have a
Okay.
little cheat
Even if
sheet.
it's not highlighted in yellow, like, we're still.
Yep.
So on
Notes are
page
there.
one,
I
I'm
would
getting, I'm getting rid of Peter thought this the most recent was going to find. I'm getting rid of that.
Okay, so are you,
I'm
You're-
doing changes to my version now,
Which is
Okay.
the latest version.
which is the
so that's
latest
fine.
one. That's
I'm
this
fine
one.
with that.
right, so you're
I'm happy to do it if Peter's doing something else.
I'm happy to let you do it, and I'm happy to just do the screen share.
So we're not going to see your edits live, but he's still going to be sharing, which is helpful still, I think, to see.
If you want to
Okay.
join via your computer, I can give you the co-host, then you could share the screen and you could do the edits. Now the ball is in your court.
I mean,
It doesn't matter.
That involves a pay raise, Anna. You might as
I
well do
don't-
it.
I'm afraid of this power.
zero up from zero is.
I'm happy to do it.
Exactly. It's a
I mean,
lot.
Is that
It might be
the best
easier.
use of a time? I mean, typos and things like that.
I mean, the problem is, how do we say that everybody's happy with it if we don't? I agree with you. I just
If
don't know
it's
what
simple
the
stuff,
deadline's
I will just do
coming
it quick without sharing a screen. So
Yeah, and I just
I-
think it's
Okay.
probably gonna take another final read through, after this.
Yeah.
So it might not be something, that
Mhm.
we're all here seeing the final thing. So,
We'll have to talk about the plan for that then, because we're running out of time.
So here's what
Yeah,
here's
exactly.
what I've done on page one. I've gotten rid of, in black, it said, Peter thought this is the most recent. I got rid of that. I added to the bottom of the list a new memo, because we're calling this memo to the planning board regarding SHI of today, May 23rd.
And just to note, Anna, on
Yep.
that fact, I titled it Ashland SHI memo of May 25th, 2024.
Ashland.
Even though it's the 23rd.
SHI
Oh, I'm
memo.
sorry, it's the 23rd, you're right.
That's fine.
Ashland
I don't-
SHI memo to the of May 23rd, okay.
Yeah.
I agree though that like maybe conceptual things are like big sort of items. And then maybe
Yeah.
someone is running through the typos and we all, you know, take a pass at the final and say, we're
Are we
good
allowed
tomorrow.
to do that?
Probably
What do you-
not.
That's the problem.
I think we
Like,
just
come
need
with
to agree. Are we all in agreement on the changes on page 1? And then we go page by page, just
Yeah.
like we always do. It's no different from any other
I-
decision.
Yeah, we have to
right?
correct the shared.
And as long as we agree in the room as to what our changes are.
Yes, so the
then-
shared housing, just maybe that's a bullet point, someone does a search and replaces them.
So I'll make a note,
Like,
like,
we don't have to do that
that
live, but there's a lot.
Peter,
Yeah.
whoever's gonna kind of, I'm guessing, Peter, you're gonna have to add little holes to this, that you have all your little dates to add.
Yeah, I think as we
So
go
I'm gonna
page by
put in
page,
here,
we can
Peter
do
will
that.
search for, what is the word, shared versus subsidized? Okay, I'm adding that to page 1 as like more of like a subsidized, something that Peter can do, and I'm gonna make it yellow because a lot of the
Yeah,
stuff
the
he's filling out
little
is yellow.
fact stuff is yellow.
Yes,
On
okay.
that same sheet, number 1?
Yep.
If we're ready for it,
And the introduction, page 2 or page 1?
page
still?
1 still.
Okay,
There is, about halfway down, there's rendering relative to 10 to 60 Main Street, created by Tricia Kendall. I don't think I created anything. I think there was a I'm not sure. I mean, what was,
so we get rid of it completely?
yeah, I think there was a misunderstanding because we talked about a site plan
Yep,
that we wanted to find. The one,
Yep.
remember, Deepa was the, and we found it, right? Peter found it, but I don't know if you added it to the list. But I didn't, I think the misunderstanding was I didn't create it.
Does that have a title that we can replace there, that document?
The map I
The
sent
site
you, I
plan
found it, and I
concept-
remember I sent it to you.
Oh,
the
yeah,
site
yeah, yeah.
plan concept is next, so
Oh.
I can get rid of the bullet point that references something created by Tricia. I can just remove
Yeah,
it, is that
so-
okay? So that's now removed.
Yeah, so we'll have to, we can see what that, I'm not sure if that's referring to something else, because the site plan concept, well, it was given to us by Gordon, obviously, but it was created by Richardson, but obviously all the drawings were, they weren't,
So there's 2 of them, there's the February 17th concept, and then the March 7th concept. Those are the 2 that we liked as reference points. And then I think Peter also brought another one that we were like, probably don't need it. So this is like the original one they came to that we got them to change, and then we liked the next one. The
So
March
just to
7th
back
we
up,
liked.
Though, I think Trish is referring to, there was a like sketch-ish of that area of downtown that was still in that same like,
But we can't
show-
find it.
no, I did find it,
Oh.
and I sent it to Peter.
Oh,
yeah, so you're
So
that's what
talking
we're
about something
referencing.
different. We just need
Yeah.
the correct reference.
Yeah, because it's
so then we're bringing it back.
Yes.
And what should it be called?
that's, well, site plan concept is, or conceptual site plan, it's a very early document. It was created before, it was
Was it created prior to this
prior,
project?
I think, before.
Yes, but for this, if we think it's important, we can refer to it. It was not in
Yeah.
front of the planning board.
No, I understand. So it was created prior to the one before the planning board. Do we know roughly what year? Like a year before, the project
I-
was submitted to us in,
I think Peter has it. I sent
Yeah.
it to him. I sent the.
so I'm just gonna say conceptual site plan
Yeah.
created blank.
Yeah,
and
just highlight it in
Peter-
yellow,
Yep, and Peter can fill
and we
it
can
in.
put it in the right slot.
Yep, it's right there in yellow, ready to go, without a reference to Tricia creating it.
Yeah.
All right, and then we have a memo that we thought we would need to create about the investment in downtown. I don't know if Peter had a chance to create that.
I have not had a chance to create that.
Do you think
You'll
you'll
just
have
leave
time
that
to create it?
Yellow
No.
highlight.
No, you will not have time to
No.
create it. Is the select board referencing all of the
Yes.
efforts and money thrown into downtown?
I believe
So
so.
can
I
we
have
then
not seen.
reference their memo if they're going to include a detailed analysis of all the investments into downtown? Because that's important
It
as
is
part of this
important.
argument to the state.
Yeah.
So if we're not gonna create it, but the select board is referencing all of it,
Yeah,
we
so
should,
that's,
we should at least say, see comment of the select board. So, but we haven't reviewed the comment of the select board. Are they gonna still do it?
The select board are meeting tomorrow to
Okay.
review their letter.
Do you think their letter will have all of that detail of all the money invested into downtown?
I am making I make the assumption it will.
Okay.
However, I have not seen a draft of that letter.
Okay,
well, why don't we just send something to the select board? Let's make a list at the
Ask, yeah.
end of things we would like to
Okay.
ask the select board. We can send them the email
So you
tonight
can
or
put
tomorrow
that
morning.
in a highlighted yellow and placeholder memo from select board and highlight it yellow and move on.
placeholder reference to select board, assuming they are gonna reference this. I think this is really important. Honestly, if nobody's
I
gonna
do
create
too.
it, I'm willing to take a stab to create it. I think we do need to tell the state all the
Yeah, well,
gazillion
let's
dollars
ask-
we've
I mean,
thrown at
I
downtown.
think between Michael and Jen, they probably have those numbers. I'd be very surprised if they're not referencing them in their letter. So let's ask the simple question first.
Okay. All right, page 2.
I
Page-
have,
yep.
in the second paragraph, it's kind of wordsmithing because it just caught me the way it was worded. So it's about second sentence, second paragraph. Rather, it's at the key entryway into downtown and was filed during gap and quote safe harbor.
We got rid of that.
Oh, is that all gone? Sorry.
Yeah,
'cause
that's way
what-
cleaner now, so read the new version. That was one of the references to the gap that I cleaned up.
Okay, then it's clear now, but I would say which can return, but it doesn't matter. Might and can's the same, so that's fine. I'm good.
Which can return? Okay, I can,
Well, might, can sounds a little more firm than might,
okay, which
me,
can,
but-
fine, I'll make it can.
but it's fine.
It is now can, hold on. Can it is. All right. Any other changes on the first new page? Or, I'm sorry, we're on page 2, on the new page 2.
I have no changes.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, so now we're on the new page 3. And so this is where the last paragraph references the memo to the Ashland Planning Board from 2023 and has this little chart. And I think what we wanted instead is we wanted to say more directly, we were close to, we were essentially within safe harbor range at the time of this project, and we are again there now. We kind of wanted to sort of pinpoint to these two charts and include them later, right? So I could take a stab at writing that. So it reads, Ashland could again be in safe harbor or reach 10% at any
Oh, this
time,
is the new one.
depending on the litigation regarding Arbella at Ashland, whether the 501 Street project pulls a permit for construction, et cetera. Then I'm gonna add, this was true at the time of the withdrawal of the initial project in August of 2023. See the memo from 2023, and this is also true today. See the SHI memo from today.
Correct.
So basically, I'm saying this was true then, and it's still true now. This is also true today. See the new memo.
And when you have a second, I just have a couple things.
Okay, give me a second so I can like
Yep.
clean that. See memo. This is also true today, and then you call the new memo, you called it Ashland SHI memo. I'm just gonna cut and paste that.
Ashland SHI memo of May 23rd.
And then as I understand it, we're gonna attach, we're gonna create an exhibit that's gonna be like Exhibit A or something. where we're gonna have both charts in one place.
Yeah.
What?
Addendum.
Yeah.
There's
So,
another shared here. I don't know if we're just gonna control find all of them, but
I think so,
that's in the
probably
little
is the
arm
way
at
to.
the end of page 3.
Yeah, so not just in that first list, but throughout the whole document.
sorry, so I'm saying we have created an addendum that shows the SHI, the Ashland SHI chart
Keep it
in
simple, say
September of 2023
C.
and in May of 2024, see addendum. And then Peter would have to create an addendum that references it. So I'm making it yellow so that Peter knows to do that.
I just sent you that too.
So
And then
the-
I'm getting rid of the chart that was embedded, because
so the
now we're having a
yellow on
reference to
page
the addendum.
3, do we have anything to fill in, or has that been filled in already?
So now it looks like this. I don't know if you can
Can-
see it. There is no chart anymore.
No, I know, there's little
get
yellow
God
things to
tomorrow.
fill in, is anyone need to do
All the
them?
yellow ones Peter's doing.
No,
Okay.
I'm gonna do that right now.
That's what I think, he
Oh,
has
Yeah.
some of
She
it,
wants-
so yeah,
yeah.
let's do it
Yeah, I'm
live.
gonna do it right now.
Sir.
I got plans tomorrow.
Yeah.
So Pete's not really available, to tell you the truth. So for 21 Main Street, that's actually 9 units.
9 units, okay.
Correct. 128 Main Street is not 16 units. That is actually 13 units.
Okay, 13.
Then the next paragraph down says in blank
Yeah.
Ashland. It says in the spring of 2021, Ashland residents approved the new housing production plan
At its,
at its annual town meeting.
okay,
And then
which included,
Do you have the first part of that sentence already, Anna?
hold on. So the way it reads right now, in spring of 2021, Ashland residents approved a new housing production plan at its annual town meeting, which included ... Following the approval of the Urbella, I'm not sure what we were trying to say there.
Oh, that might be mine. I think, I was wondering what the housing production plan said about, maybe it doesn't matter, actually.
I'll just say-
All that mattered, I think what I was wondering at the time is if our housing production plan had to say something about accredited affordable housing, which of course it does. But really, I think the point here is that we had a housing production plan.
Got it.
Period. So I think
So I'm just
that-
going to say period.
Yeah.
yeah, I would just say period. It was
Period
up-
it is.
And it was certified by the state.
Yeah, sorry, that was me. So, at
I
the
would-
annual town meeting, period.
That's what I did, so
Yeah.
period.
In
And
the
then,
previous one, is it 48, 49, Homer, something is missing, right?
So yes, it's called 9 to,
9.
so it's 9-49.
correct.
Got it.
And
Fixed.
actually, I'm going back to that housing production plan at its annual town meeting, and Peter had added, which was certified by the state.
By the state. Mhm.
So we not only voted for it, but our plan was certified by
Okay.
the state,
I
making
cleaned that
it,
up.
Official.
making it official.
Okay.
All right.
I made that change.
I had no other changes.
On this page, is that what's highlighted in blue and the last 2 paragraphs, are they saying the same thing? So we talk about safe harbor and losing it and the ongoing case, and the next paragraph we again talk about the same. Or am I just reading it that way?
I think you might be reading it that way because the first one, I mean, there's probably a way to clean it up a little bit. So the way it reads is, since no building permits have been applied for within a year of entering safe harbor, the 180 units dropped off of SHI August 2nd, 22, and Ashland lots of safe harbor status. Importantly, that litigation is ongoing and those units could come back on our SHI again in the very near future. Ashland could again be in safe harbor or reach 10% at any time, depending on the litigation. So you're right, it's a little bit wordy.
It's kind of repeating the same thing,
yeah.
but
So I can just get rid, I could get rid of that first sentence that says Ashland could again be in safe harbor.
yeah.
So that it just starts with, it's gonna basically say, importantly, that litigation is ongoing and those units could come back onto our SHI again in the very near future, period. This was true at the time of the withdrawal of the initial project in August of 2023. See memo from September. This is also true today. See the memo from today. So it's gonna read a lot cleaner. Okay. Are we good with that one? All right. Then we go to, we like the Ashland has been planning for its unique downtown, right? Everybody's happy there?
The third sentence here needs
Where are we?
functioning capitalized. Page
Got it. It's been
4.
capitalized.
Oh, wait, actually, that's just kind of a,
Oh, is it supposed to be part of the?
yeah.
Oh, hold on. So Ashland has a unique downtown, comma, and several historic buildings from its incorporation era are the most visible part of its
Of it.
functioning as a gateway into the downtown area. So it's a little bit of a run-on sentence, but it's meant to be not capitalized.
Yeah, and the period just has to.
So the new version, I'm just looking at the new, I better stop looking at the old version then.
Yeah, this is, it looks like a couple, because then the next sentence is, the mill buildings at the heart of this 40B project is not.
Oh,
full
you have a,
stop either.
The mill buildings at the heart of this 40B project,
oh, I think it should be, maybe the mill buildings are at the heart of this 40B project?
yes. The mill buildings are at the heart of this 40B project. As one drives south towards Ashland, the mill buildings are immediately visible. So yeah, I added that, the R. So now it reads, the mill buildings are at the heart of this 40B project, period.
I think we were originally trying to say something.
I also think for that run-on sentence,
Yep.
you could just say Ashland has a unique downtown, period, and then start the next sentence with several historical buildings. It would just shorten it
Got it.
into more of a
Done.
two-part sentence.
Yep.
But
Fixed up.
functioning as a gateway is meant to be tied to the mill buildings at the heart of this 40B project.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's meant to be together.
Yeah.
Functioning as a gateway into the downtown area, comma, the mill buildings.
Oh.
That was supposed to be one thing.
There you go. It's just-
Sorry, how do I fix it now?
Sorry, there's
So-
like 4 clauses that are actually supposed to be separated into
Yeah.
2 thoughts.
Yeah, so you're undoing
What you just said?
what I just said.
Ashland has a unique downtown, comma,
And several historic buildings from its incorporation area are the most visible part of it, period. Then we do need that capital F,
Functioning as a gateway into the downtown area,
comma,
the mill buildings at the heart of this 40,
Got
are
it.
the mill buildings at the heart of this 40B project.
so let me read, can I just read from the start? As the oldest area in the country, Massachusetts as a whole has worked to preserve its cultural heritage over the past centuries, and Ashland is no exception. Ashland has a unique downtown, several historic buildings from its incorporation era are the most visible part of it. That doesn't make any sense. Ashland has a unique downtown and several historic buildings from its incorporation era
it meant like as the time, from the
are
time of its
the most
incorporation.
visible part of it.
Why did we blow up what was there before that seemed to be pretty well written? I'm reading it before. Ashland has a
I
unique
can't see
downtown
it.
with several historic buildings from its incorporation area. In fact, the most visible buildings are those which function as a gateway point to downtown. The mill buildings at the heart of the 40B project. I mean, it's,
I think there might have been like a track changes splicing
Yeah.
situation that happened.
Maybe.
here.
that's what it
Uh,
might
So
seem like.
maybe
'Cause
just
it's-
read us
it's-
what it used to be.
Ashland has a unique downtown with several historical buildings from its
Hold on, I
incorporation
can't type that
era.
fast. Ashland has a unique downtown. I mean, I can. Ashland High
pretty
School,
fast.
Ashland
Yeah.
High School typing class.
Mavis Beacon?
Maybe it was Brookline High, because it was 2 years in Brookline High before I came to Ashland. One of those high schools. I won like some typing competition just to show you what a nerd I am. Don't tell anyone. Public
Typing
meeting.
almost ruined my GPA.
Really?
I
Okay.
still can't type.
I can help you.
Iceberg to iceberg, and if you didn't.
I literally
Stay.
competed in typing.
I bet you did, yes.
That's how sad I was as an immigrant nerd kid. All right. Anyhow,
Do you want me to send this to you? the
I can
old
type,
one?
really.
Okay.
Ashland has a unique downtown. Keep
Comma,
going.
with several historical buildings from its incorporation era, period.
Period. Okay.
In fact, comma, the most visible buildings are those which function as the gateway point to downtown.
Hold on. the most visible buildings which function as a gateway into the downtown area.
As the gateway point to downtown. If, I'm just reading what was there.
You just stopped reading, that's the problem.
Okay, which function as the gateway point to downtown, the mill buildings at the heart of this 40B project, period. I like it, I don't think.
I'm
it
gonna
jumped
have
out.
to have you read one more time. Ashland has a unique downtown, comma, from there.
With several historical buildings from its incorporation era, period.
Keep reading.
In fact, comma, the most visible buildings are those which function as the gateway point to downtown, the mill buildings at the heart of this 40B project,
Gateway
period.
point to the downtown mill buildings.
Is it the mill buildings are at the heart of
That
this? Or
are
is it
The
mill
mill
buildings?
well, because it's a colon,
Mm.
and then capital, the mill buildings
Yeah.
at the heart of the
That
project, period. With a
makes-
colon and a period, you don't need the R and all of that. I think it's proper.
I'm so sorry, can I just have you look, can you pass my computer on to Kate and have her look at it, because
Oh, there it is.
I'm not,
That's it, right?
That's the magic drawing that we were looking for.
okay.
So it's the old scheme, which we saw. They showed us the old scheme, the plan. And then there was all this stuff about the site, about the importance of the river and the sun and,
Do we know the date of that?
Yeah, so that whole section C, that first sentence is not there, and I'm not saying we have it, but I feel like
Didn't you just read it to me? So,
no, the sentence
map.
that you left
As the
is
oldest
not,
area in the country.
is no longer, it was not in the previous version.
that's fine, but the sentence I just typed
Is
is
correct.
accurate.
But-
Okay. Okay.
But do we, I mean, that's fine. I wonder how we get like out of sync. It's just very hard to help edit, like, because you guys did a great job blue and yellow, but then there's stuff edited not blue and yellow, so it's just.
So I think the challenge was
No, I
that-
get it. It was saying it's difficult.
Yeah. We're essentially editing the newest version rather than the prior one.
Correct.
The rest of this starts with as one drive south towards Ashland. Are we all okay with the rest of the paragraph?
just give me a second.
And I'm sorry, you have a name for this now, so
That's what it was on a slide and
I
that was
can
the name
call
on
it,
the
should I
slide.
call it this Ashland Mill Site and Context Planning Input?
Yeah.
Okay, and do we know the date of it?
It's in the it's in the bottom corner.
I don't think it is.
Oh, it's not?
No.
Wait, it's not.
Okay.
I don't know what the date was of the I thought I put that on the email that I sent you, that it was included in this presentation. I don't think necessarily that was the date it was done, but it was included in a presentation, so we know it was at least present at that point.
So it says Gorman, Richardson, Lewis Architects. Was
Right.
that the project that we had, this planning board?
Yeah.
or-
Yeah.
Okay. So it must have existed during our proceeding, right? So if we don't know the exact date of it, can I just say, timeframe? Like, they filed the application in July of 2022, so approximately July 2022.
Yeah, I
Right?
mean,
I'll just say around July 2022. I just think it needs a date, a rough date.
yeah, that's fine.
So logically, it would have been around that time, right?
I'm,
If it's those architects.
Let me try to grab. I think we can continue. Then I can work.
Okay,
yeah,
And then I just have a couple things
okay,
And it
on page
is-
4.
on page 4.
okay.
So in 2016, I believe Ashland adopted the current downtown zoning prior to. And so I think we should just take out in 2016 and say Ashland has created a zoning district, has defined rules and rules for design and setbacks approved by the state that would preserve the preservation of this area.
So it's just gonna say Ashland has created and just
A
get rid of the
downtown
year.
zoning district, correct.
Okay,
And then regarding the next blank
Yeah.
spot, as Ashland further invested in the Riverwalk across the mill buildings, across from the mill buildings in, that is going to be 2018.
2018.
Yep.
Got it. Okay.
And then further, the next sentence says Ashland most recently, the town adopted a demolition delay. The town actually adopted demo delay in 2001. And so that's when, so I think the word recently,
I had it edited, saying the town approved a demolition delay bylaw for historically or architecturally significant buildings in 2001, which was most recently amended by a town meeting in May of 2024.
whatever, I think,
Do you want to type that?
If that sounds all right to
Yeah,
people.
that sounds.
I think they left the
this is
cursor
Anna's.
exactly where
This is
you would need to
yours.
type it.
If I could see.
Here, I'll show it to you.
this is, yep, everything's loose, whatever's loose
Oh,
is yours.
Okay.
I can make it bigger. Hold on.
Yeah, that would be great.
Whatever's loose is yours, I'll share it with you, obviously.
Right there.
You're on track
trying to-
changes?
Don't worry about track,
Okay.
we're all agreeing to it on this.
No, I know, but it's fine, yeah.
Then I'm going to save it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I just had an email.
T.
Do you want me to type it as you? I can-
I actually can type good, but if
Okay,
I
I
get
believe
certain.
We can do this. We're on page 4. We have
Yeah,
8 more to go.
I don't think the middle, I think
think
it's
it
really
gets
about
e-
the beginning
I
and the
think it
end.
gets easier.
It
Yeah.
does.
Yeah, it gets
does.
easier. It's,
We're almost there.
Mr. DeSoni, how you doing tonight?
you're gonna do spell check.
Perfect.
One.
Okay.
Okay.
This is from.
That's it. Oh, I get it. That's not spelled correctly. That's right, yeah.
So, what we have is the town approved a demolition bylaw for historically, or architecturally, how do you spell architecturally?
ARCHITECTURAL.
Oh, R is missing.
LY.
What the? Why can't I not spell it architecture? There, architecturally
Yeah, I was gonna say,
significant.
You're missing the sure. part.
Yeah, buildings. The town approved a demolition bylaw for historically or architecturally significant buildings in 2001, which was amended by town meeting in May of 2024 to save its older buildings as much as possible. Okay. Are we good with the rest of this section, including the footnote that defines the height? Which
Hold
says the current proposal is 5 stories, approximately 70 feet at the back of the site, and 4 stories, approximately 60 at the front.
Are we on the top of page?
Where are you?
No, we're still on page 4.
Well, it's
Hold on.
printed on page 5.
Oh,
Okay. so
sorry.
top of page 5.
Sorry, yeah.
We're gonna start.
Sorry, I'll stick to the,
So that image is.
Yes, is
we
gone.
have a-
So that is from the working group presentation on 3/28/22.
3/28/22, okay.
And it must be slide, you have.
3/28/2022. Like this? Ashland Mill site and context planning input, preliminary thoughts, site analysis, March 28th, 22.
Yeah, it was in I found it in a presentation given at that time, so I don't know. I think we saw it before that, maybe.
Okay, but that's a reference to it.
Yeah, it's in
That-
presentation.
Gives an accurate vision of when it is. So we are in the new version on page 5. The new version, page 5, with the footnote. Are we good with that page?
I didn't
No issues for me.
read that yet.
New version, page 5. It has the key zoning elements that begin.
There's a highlighted footnote reference there, one.
Yes.
And you need that, or you take off the yellow highlight, or?
The
still-
yellow highlighter, I will take off when we're done with the
Yeah.
whole document because there's highlighting everywhere.
Yeah.
Yes. So other than the highlighting, we're good. What, is that bad?
No, it's,
Yeah.
I'm laughing, it's funny.
It is?
No,
Like
it's funny.
I'll take it all off.
I'm like, yeah, I would do the same thing.
Yeah,
No, I have no, there was nothing for me to add on that.
okay.
I just have one question.
Yeah.
So, it was not just a vision question about the number of stories, right? It was the fact that the height was what was driving, whether it was 3 or 4 stories.
I think
It's
that-
not Ashland Planning Board envisioning that, right? So the comment here talking about the downtown is not where.
It's not where Ashland envisioned this building, which is 4 to 5 stories. So this current building that the state is thinking about, the building we're commenting on, is 4 to 5 stories high. The footnote makes it much more specific because it's actually 5 at the back and 4 in the front. So this project that the state is considering is not what we envisioned. It's too big for downtown. But the footnote explains in more detail, is it 4, is it 5, what is it? Because we as a board couldn't quite decide as if it's 4 or 5, because it's kind of both. It's 5 in the back, 4 in the front.
But there's a height limitation, right? on the
I
Main
think that
Street?
unless it got really blown up in another thing, that's pretty well spelled out later, the height of our bylaw.
Yeah, there is a height limitation, but.
So the whole premise is, this is not what we planned for. We did not plan for this project that the state is thinking about. The state is proposing a 4 to 5, not the state, the applicant is proposing to the state a 4 to 5 story development. And we're saying that's not what we envisioned for planning in Ashland.
I could still be confused on this, but isn't it 4 and 5 from the front and 5 and 6 from the back?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just don't want to.
Well, you could put on
On the footnote?
As measured from Main Street, because that's in the bylaws, we measure from Main Street.
So it's
Yeah.
4 stories at the front of the site as measured
4 to
from
5.
Main Street.
Everything is as measured from Main Street.
Right. So it's but this is the footnote says the current proposal is 5 stories at the back of the site.
That's what was written in Marcelo's Interests original
Got it.
that I just cut and pasted. Is that not accurate?
Look, it is if you're from Main Street, like it's 5 stories from Main Street, right? From Main Street, you don't see 6 stories, because there's a.
So I'm gonna say from Main Street,
Yes, I think that makes it
from
clear
Main
that, like,
Street, comma.
It's not like you have to be behind.
I'm gonna say from Main Street, comma, the current proposal is 5 stories at the back of the site and 4 stories at the front of the site. So it's gonna start with from Main
Yeah,
Street.
yeah.
From, how about from the Main Street view? Would that be more accurate? I think, Amanda, what you're trying to say is everybody's gonna define height differently.
Why-
Tricia's
No, I think
point.
from the back of the site it's 5 to 6. From the front it's 4 to 5.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
But,
So I just don't want to say 4 to 5 from the back.
Yeah.
Which
right,
is, I
so
think,
she's
what-
saying from Main Street.
4.
Main Street is the front.
Right. So and I think, but when she just rephrased it there, she said from the back again. I just wanted to make sure.
Okay,
that we
so the
didn't-
way it reads
Yeah,
right now
I'm
is
sorry.
from Main Street, comma, the current proposal is 5 stories, approximately 70 feet at the back of the site. I think what that means is when you're standing in the front, what you're
Yeah.
seeing in the back
Right.
is
It
5
doesn't
stories
mean
from the
walking
front.
around to the back.
Okay. That's what's confusing me. Thank
So it's a
you.
perspective.
Like from Main Street.
Yeah.
How
Right,
about this?
from Main Street.
From the Main Street perspective.
I see.
Okay.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Perspective. From the Main Street perspective, comma, the current proposal is 5 stories at the back of the site and 4 stories at the front. Because you're looking at it from Main Street.
Yep.
Okay. Everybody's happy with that one? I'm still gonna leave it yellow until the last minute. Okay. Now we're on page 6 in the new version. the printed
So
version.
did you take, I'm sorry, I had, on the old one.
Yes,
I
we're
did
on
some number of units. I
key
think
zoning
that's
elements
gone.
A and B.
Sorry, the
I had
sentence,
edits
the
on
last
the number of
sentence,
units, but I
before
think
key
that's
zoning,
gone.
This project does not, and it exploits a likely temporary window in
Oh, yeah,
Ashland's.
so it is still there. but it
Oh,
was
we need to get rid of
actually
that. Hold on.
188. Like, that's supposed
The
to be
compromises
200.
made during that time resulted in a plan much more consistent
Yeah,
with the needs
but-
and vision of the town of Ashland and our historic
Fewer.
downtown. This project does not, and it exploits, does not meet the vision, I think is what we're trying to say. This project does not and exploits a likely temporary window in Ashland's 40B safe harbor status to erect an inappropriate complex at the gateway of the downtown that will forever change. I guess it still works, because we are in a gap that could be filled. So which part is confusing?
This project does not feels like it needs something to complete.
Because it goes from the prior sentence. So
Yeah.
the compromises made during that time resulted in a plan much more consistent with the needs and vision of the town of Ashland, our historic downtown. This project does not, meet
vision.
those does not meet that vision, comma, and it exploits a
Yeah,
likely
yeah.
temporary window in Ashland's 40B safe harbor. Okay, done. Key zoning elements. Are we good with the first paragraph?
So,
And then when we get to purpose of the bylaw, so I guess it's section A, B, which is focus upon mixed use. C.
Can we put, in A, so it says the earlier proposal had approximately 200 residential units. Can we say fewer than 200? Because the 3/8/23 application actually had 188. And I feel like it is about trying to get mass and scale and size.
So hold on, so you wanted to say what?
I would either say, fewer than 200 residential units to use what you have there, or just say 188 units, but.
So
instead
how
of
would
a-
it, I'm just having trouble, how,
The
what's-
earlier proposal for this site included more significant commercial and public components in addition to fewer than 200 residential units.
And just to, I think just to add color, the application came in as 200 commercial, 25%. When we were going through the process, the number did change, and then he dropped it to 188.
Yeah.
And then he removed the 25% affordability down to 15%.
okay. But we're all okay with fewer than 200?
Yeah. please.
Okay. All right, how are we with B, focus upon mixed-use development? And with C,
Can we just get, bylaw 8.5.4, the first sentence specifically notes the intended higher density of mixed-use development allowed in the area, ADAA, to encourage retail, instead of in the hope of encouraging retail, to encourage retail.
Okay, done.
I put, so it's not the history center, I know what you're saying. The
Which,
loss,
which
I'm
sentence?
sorry, you're like 2 more sentences. The loss of the first floor retail spaces significantly downtown. In its critical location, the site links the town center with the Riverwalk.
Is Riverwalk one word or 2, does anyone know?
I don't know.
I'm gonna make it 1.
I think
Um,
that's one.
I'll make it 1.
Like, I think like the San Antonio one, like they.
I'll make it 1.
I said Ocean House, a prominent historical site property, or just a historical society property, but it's not a history center. Like,
So what do you wanna call it?
Ocean Ho-
Riverwalk
it has a name,
and what?
Ocean House.
But they don't know what Ocean House is. The state will have no idea what that means.
Um,
So this
I-
site
yeah, I
links the
said-
town center with the Riverwalk and,
You could say a
Isn't that
prominent historical
Ocean?
society property, you could say Ocean House, a prominent historical society property, you could say Ocean House, a
Does it
historical
house
society
the
property.
Historical Society,
Yeah.
Ocean House, yeah.
housing the Ashland Historical Society.
One of the oldest houses in Ashland, housing the Ashland Historical Society, yeah, lots of ways, I know what you're trying to say.
so
just-
in its critical location, comma, this site links the town center with the Riverwalk and a prominent historical site, Ocean House.
Or just say one of the oldest houses in town, housing the Historical
I think
Society.
you said one of Ashland's oldest homes.
Yeah,
housing, the Ashland Historic Society.
I think it's like there's still more sentence to go, and so it has to be kind of short.
Yeah, I know. I just didn't want to say history center.
Yeah,
because
no,
Yeah,
Whatever you say,
And
just
one
not
of
that.
Ashland's oldest
homes.
homes, Ocean House. Is it really called Ocean House, like ocean?
Yeah, I know, interesting.
I'm learning history every day.
Really cool to go inside.
It's
In its
awesome.
critical location, this site links the town center with the Riverwalk and one of Ashland's oldest homes, Ocean House, comma, and is a gateway for visitors who may come to support Ashland's business. Should I say businesses?
Mhm.
Okay, great, yay. Setbacks and building heights, how are we doing with that one?
So I would like to consider adding in the second paragraph. So we're talking about height. Height's really important. I think we did a great job talking about that. Let me just read the whole thing that I wrote to add. So this is the second paragraph, about 38 feet. The height is measured from Main Street. The 2020 zoning change clarification of measuring height from Main Street reinforces that this site was specifically considered when the bylaw update was proposed. A significant portion of the site is lower than Main Street, so the board at the time recognized that inclusion of reference to measurement from Main Street allowed for greater height and more building possibilities at this site. So we've already, it's two things. A is keeping very much that planning. We've already plan.
But it also says we plan for more height, which
Yes,
can be confusing.
greater, because of that whole, it's 60 feet in the front and 70 feet in the back, and it's like that whole, it's, the last part of that has to be fleshed out more, but I think it has to be said about,
I think that's good. I mean, I wrote that section, you know, all the exciting bylaw stuff. And I think that does describe, if we did link it to that site,
Yeah.
that is correct.
and I think that's the theme of planning
Do
is
you wanna
really
just
important
email
here.
me that sentence right now, and
Yeah.
I'll open it and insert it?
But I think the part, so I understand the point about greater height, and then it looks like, so we have to say, but we've already allowed for greater height. So
Right,
if you don't
but I
hold
just
it to
need-
38 feet,
Yeah,
yes.
just send me the sentence, because we need to write it on the spot,
Yes.
so.
The only thing I have is the date, 2000, it was actually 2020.
So it should say 38 feet was added in 2021? Okay.
That whole time.
And you're emailing to me now, Kate?
Yep.
Which I don't think violates open meeting law, because we're reading that one sentence together,
Yes.
right? And you're just sending it to me.
Okay. And then we just read it out
I just
loud.
don't want us to get a penalty on the spot. The podium and Peter.
It's a real barn burner, as they say. Something's wrong.
Oh, there you go.
I just sent it, so,
Okay, let me find it, and then you'll tell me where to put it, because,
How do you put it that way?
did you email it to the town email?
yeah,
There it is. Okay, so that one sentence, you wanted inserted where?
well, I guess that's a little problem because we've changed since I edited.
All right, let me figure out where to insert it. Hold on. I'm just gonna insert it randomly and see if it fits. Give me a second.
The maximum, okay, so the maximum height of 3 stories has always been part of the bylaw. A specific dimension of 38 feet was added in 2020.
Which should be 2021.
I did that. I already made it 2021. So Kate, when you're referring to the beginning of your section says the 2021 zoning change, you mean the 2021?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, I think I know where this belongs. Hold on.
We're doing good.
I mean, we are, it's a big undertaking.
Yes.
Are you guys making fun of me? Because I'm never gonna agree to this again, just so we're clear.
An award-winning thing, and I'm like, plink. I'm awful, just awful.
So
How
the-
does this read? The most critical component of this bylaw, however, is the height restriction. The maximum height of 3 stories has always been part of the bylaw. In parentheses, a specific maximum dimension of 38 feet was added in 2021. This height is measured from Main Street and is a change approved by town meeting and by the State Attorney General's office. The 2021 zoning change clarification of measuring height from Main Street reinforces that this site was specifically considered when the bylaw update was proposed. A significant portion of the site is lower than Main Street, so the board at the time recognized that inclusion of reference to measurement from Main Street allowed for greater height and more building possibilities at this site. Next paragraph. The height limitation in downtown is critical to maintain the feel and placemaking of a typical New England town, and the rest of it keeps going the same way that Trish already had. So just kind of.
And maybe if the third, if that paragraph gets really long, it could be a break after Kate's.
Yes.
Oh, you already did it.
I did
Okay,
that.
Got it.
Yep, I created that break. Okay, criteria and design principles. Are we good with that?
I'm sorry, before, the last sentence on setbacks and building heights, Ashland does not want to destroy the very elements that make people seek out Ashland. I think it seems to be as a good place to work and live. There are not two sentences, but
Ashland does not want to destroy the very elements that make people seek out Ashland as a good place to work and live. Ashland does not want to destroy the very elements. How about the very elements that attract people to Ashland?
would Ashland get repeated twice in a sentence?
Ashland does not want to destroy the very elements that, how about, that make
community does not
Ashland a
want to
good
destroy.
place?
That people seek out as a good place to work and live.
Our community does not want to destroy the very elements that make Ashland a good place to work and live. How's that?
Yeah, there's some take on the national. Makes sense.
Our community does not want to destroy the very elements that make Ashland a good place to work and live, period. Okay. Criteria and design principles. And form-based code, are we good with those?
I have is,
Yep.
again, 2001 instead of 2020.
For form-based code, got it, got it.
But I'm probably slower readers. The previous, the
The last one of criteria and design principles.
In criteria,
Yep.
the second last sentence.
Projects are further guided.
The one before that. So these include the impacts on traffic and the obvious
Adequacy of utilities.
utilities, but also highlight principles that specifically affect the preservation of downtown, such as impact on the visual character of the art and surrounding neighborhood, and encourage progress. That was a really long sentence.
It is really long,
And
but I
then-
think the state will just skim that one.
well, because the way it ends, I just like, I read it twice and I lost track. And then there's buildings that are compatible with context and historic nature of downtown, Ashland, lot design standards, something.
I mean,
It's just exactly how it's written.
I think it's,
exact
yeah,
copy.
I think the problem is our bylaw is run on,
Yes.
so the sentence is run on because
No,
it
so it's-
quotes the bylaw exactly.
Historic nature of downtown, Ashland lot design standards.
Yeah, that's how it's
That's
written.
literally how it's written in the bylaw.
I mean, so that's why I left it that way. I didn't want to cut it short or.
The good thing about a run-on sentence like that is that it's a lot
Don't
of
forget where it's at.
intentionality. It's a lot of intentionality to like, this is how it was supposed to be.
Yeah,
It's a lot of words
Yeah.
focused on the same thing.
Okay.
And it's in quotes, so,
Someone else's fault.
yeah.
Sure.
Who drafted this thing? Anyway, just kidding. I'm just-
I didn't write that.
I'm joking.
It's been there for decades.
I'm joking. All right, form-based code.
You got the 20,
Got the year
21.
2021. All right, detailed site analysis section. how do we feel about the yellow, other than me getting rid of it? There's yellow that says 30 Main Street. Is that,
That's way, okay.
sorry.
In the second paragraph of detailed site analysis, just if we're concerned about the 200 units.
Yeah, just
that's-
same thing,
yeah.
fewer than.
So it should say, the former proposed included a mix of less than 200 units? Okay, got it. So now we're in historic heritage, section A. How do we feel about historic heritage? It has 2 yellow 30s. Do we know why? Is there something?
Because I just wasn't sure of, if that was the building address. It's 10, like the first one is 10, is the second.
20, 30.
Okay, so the second one the second building is 20. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay.
So what should I call it? Should, instead of 30, should it be,
I've always called it 30.
I'm just gonna leave it as 30 then.
Yeah, I can look at that.
Wait, because that's like, so I'm, the first mill building and its chimney, 10 Main Street,
Okay,
demolishing about half of the second building while retaining its subsidence cladding, that should be 20, is that what you're saying? 20 Main Street? And then completely removing the third building, which I guess then should be 30 Main Street?
before I change that, can we confirm that?
Nope, I am right now, and this is what the real, so 10 Main Street stays. Trisha,
Yep, what's the next one?
that's 30.
That's 30, okay.
So 30 is the one that gets,
Okay, so there is no 20.
there's
So-
no 20.
Yeah.
And then this, the third building that is proposed to be demolished is 40.
So, okay, so
Okay.
next to the reference for cladding,
So that
No,
is right. So
cladding
it's
is
right, just
still
remove the
30.
highlighting, 40.
Okay. Highlighting has been removed from this page.
Okay.
It's a very scary fact.
So 30, okay, so 10, 20, 30, excuse me,
10, 30.
40, 50.
Where's 50? I don't have it in here.
50 is the big.
The
Oh,
brick
not in
one.
this, not
The
in
brick
what I'm
one, yeah.
editing.
Yeah,
Okay.
Can we,
not in
okay.
context.
So
Okay.
that paragraph, I guess it's, oh boy, we're on page 8.
Forget pages because we're not even there anymore.
Okay, so,
How does the
there's-
paragraph begin? Retaining?
no, so I'm at Sudbury River B, go up one paragraph, in the last
Okay,
sentence of
like
the
any
previous
community?
paragraph.
Okay,
The planning board has previously discussed the difficulties of repurposing the third one-story mill building, 40 Main Street, and acknowledged it may warrant removal. Can we strike that? Because I recently heard from an architect that they think that's a very amazing building, it has lots of possibilities, and I know that we heard that from other people. So I don't think that's, I know we heard that, but then we
how about we
also
just
have to
say the planning, do you want to say the planning board has previously discussed the difficulties of repurposing the third building, period?
But, no, the applicant discussed, I mean, Kevin was on the board and said, that's a great building, I was over there, I'm not sure why that can't be saved, like, I remember him saying that,
Wait,
way
who said
back.
that?
Huh?
Who said that?
Kevin,
Oh,
Kevin who was on our board.
yeah.
And I recently heard from an architect say it, so I just feel like that's
So you're not
stretching.
comfortable with, I understand you're saying get rid of the reference to removal. Are you comfortable leaving the prior piece? The planning board has previously discussed the difficulties of repurposing the third building, period?
How does it add to our thing? I would
Just get rid of that
advocate
entire sentence?
I think so.
How do we all feel about that? Because once I click backspace. Tricia?
Yeah, I mean, this is a section that Marcelo wrote,
He's not here.
but, you know, I don't think it's a,
All right, backspace
yeah,
it
I mean, I
is.
think we all liked the space, right? It was just, it was kind of.
But I don't think it, like,
We
yes,
don't-
that was discussed, but we're not giving
We didn't necessarily
transcripts.
vote on it. Okay.
Yeah,
So I will backspace it. Bye-bye. That sentence is gone. All right, we're officially slightly shorter in the document because of 2 lines being removed. Okay. It actually looks good because now the next sentence begins at the next page. Looks better already. Sudbury River, how do we feel about that?
Is there a specific reason why this particular paragraph has so much reference only to 30 Main?
Because that's the one where
because
They're just facading.
That's the massive one.
And that's why it's also repeated that many
Yes.
times.
Yes, because we're isolating that as a problem.
Yeah, because they're treating 10 Main Street and 30 Main Street completely differently.
Yeah.
So that's why the problems with what they're doing with 30 Main Street.
I mean, to your point, yeah, I think to your point, to your point, it's a lot of 30 mains in one paragraph, but
So it's an effort, I guess, to save 30 Main in its more in its entirety.
I understand that, so do we have to say 30 Main for every sentence?
Oh, I see, you just.
If that whole paragraph is about the importance of that building and its facade, we don't have to refer that 30 Main address in every sentence.
why don't the current approach to this building, so I'll remove 30 Main Street from one sentence. The current approach to this building, so it's a little bit less 30, 30, 30.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
I did that.
before it's said again.
okay. We're not gonna overwhelm the state with the number 30. Okay, Sudbury River, how do we feel about that? Does
I
Sudbury-
mean, if it didn't change too much from what was before, I'm fine. I mean, we just got this now to read, but I didn't have comments on the previous one. Guess I have to look.
Did the Tricia version go to the board a few days ago, or did I hold on to it forever to include my stuff? Great. Then it's my fault. My bad. But it's not that different,
Yeah, I
because,
mean, if it's not,
yeah,
I'm fine. but
Tricia
I-
didn't change it that much. No, she mostly changed the earlier stuff.
I mostly changed the
Yeah.
first one.
And Amanda and I didn't mess with it. Yeah. Massing and scale, we have some nice,
I have some,
okay.
so town hall says the second sentence, the 1854 town hall was saved and demolition and restored in 2003.
Oh crap, hold on,
I have
2003.
the
Okay.
next period, I had, the 1903 library restored and expanded in, I'm gonna say the same time period, because I was trying to find a plan, I was actually going by.
Should I say around 2003?
Yes,
Okay.
Or in the early 2000s.
in the early 2000s, but I couldn't actually find the date where it happened.
In the early 2000s it is.
Yep.
Meanwhile, new
Meanwhile.
construction, yeah,
New construction including 21 Main Street, that was 2014, that was approved.
okay. Oh crap, okay.
And 128 Main Street was approved, the decision was approved. Well, both were approved by the planning board with a date stamp of 2014 for 21, and then 128 was 2018.
Do you want me to actually say approved, or just
No,
2014
no.
and
I was
2018?
gonna say 2014, 2018.
Okay.
I was just
21 Main Street, 2014, 128 Main Street, 2018. Okay. How are we with the rest of massing and scale? And language and materials. Somebody had highlighted the word "we" in, I think it was you, Tricia, in language and materials, you highlighted "we." Were you just not a fan of "we"?
My question was, and this is one of the general questions I had offered, is that what's the voice of this overall document? I know in some of that intro stuff, it says our, my tendency is to write without a we or an r, an our, but this is Marcelo's section, and so he uses a lot of we. And so I was more highlighting those to try to be like, which way is our document going as a whole? So in general, I think in the middle part, there's probably not a lot of we and our, because I tend to.
So what I
take them
can
all out.
say is, I mean, this version I didn't read, and it's not, I don't think substantially, but I was worried about that, and when I sat down and read, it didn't strike as like 5 or 8 or people wrote this. It's pretty good.
Okay.
So like, I don't, like,
I'm okay with this.
stylistically, I don't think it's a big issue, because it wasn't like, oh, this needs more
Yeah,
work. It
I'm
wasn't-
okay with the
well,
"we"
that's
over there,
fine,
as long as
yeah.
we all
Our.
agree.
Yeah,
Is that
that's
our
fine.
voice? Like, are we comfortable with
I
the
mean, we are signing it as.
Yeah, okay,
Right,
Yeah, it was
like,
more just that, like I said, it wasn't that,
yeah.
it's like one person was writing.
I mean, are
Yeah.
you say the board believes then, or?
I think we're good. I don't, There,
I think it also makes sense because we're like approaching the conclusion. It's like we're like starting to drive a point, like this is what we're.
Yeah, and there's already in the introduction, there is our and the because I saw them in there. So it's maybe okay in the introduction and then kind of the factual middle. And then, like you said, you're kind of approaching where, hey, we're real people again. It's just, I don't know, everyone has their own way of doing it. I didn't know if we-
I definitely don't think it jumped out
Okay.
though. Like
That's
I
perfect.
was
Yeah.
kind of looking, I was like, oh, wow, we did 14 pages and it didn't look like a bunch of people wrote it, so.
Good, perfect.
oh crap, I just accidentally deleted something, sorry, hold on. Yeah, I keep deleting the same thing.
Are you
Hold on.
hitting save along the way?
Why is
'Cause
it
we can't do
bolded?
this again.
Nope, I've been saving it, don't worry. Got it, okay, we're back to, I made the mistake of trying to get rid of some colors. Nothing was deleted, don't worry. We are now language, so we're done with the language and materials, right? So we're now to other regulatory elements. We begin with the fun one called nuanza. Again, we highlighted the word "we." I'm gonna get rid of that. Meaning get rid of the color.
Yeah, that's just me again.
So is
Yeah.
that, yep,
In the sentence, Ashland has already had negative impacts from the Nyanza Superfund site. I mean, this is just like personal preference, but I don't want to feel like we're downplaying it. I would like to say
Yeah.
Ashland has already had significant negative impacts from the Nyanza Superfund site. To sort of drive that home.
wait, did I not
But
say,
not-
so hold on.
I think you're looking at an old version, or do you have the current?
So can you read the sentence as you would like it to be
It's
read?
right, yeah, it's, do you have the sentence I'm talking about?
Ashland has already had negative impacts from the Nuanza Superfund site.
It's just saying significant negative impacts instead of.
You want to add the word significant?
Yes,
Okay,
exactly.
okay, put the significant back in, okay. What about MIPA? I think Tricia, you wrote more information here, question mark.
I was wondering because, and I don't know, but, it seems interesting that, like I'm wondering, what's that historical commission involvement in MIPA all about? So I didn't know if there could be
So
a sentence saying-
everything with MIPA, as far as I can tell, I spent a lot of time like looking through this, is it's at the will of the secretary. So there's some general, you can go to MIPA and it's like, if it's this or that, or you want to put a pier and thing, but I mean, many circumstances. But it's always at the will of the secretary. So I cannot say that that site requires a MIPA environmental review. I cannot say it doesn't, right? It's sort of
Which secretary of,
of the environment in Massachusetts.
okay,
So
So all we're
the
really saying-
historic review is under MIPA. However, it has to be listed on the Massachusetts Historical Commission book, which you have to buy at the bookstore. I do not know if that site is listed in it's called the Massachusetts Historical Commission Cultural Resource Information System. It's listed
so you don't
on
know if
that.
it's listed there or not?
I know it's listed in Macros. I do not know if it's listed on the state list of historical. I don't think anyone has the book. I've been asking Historical Society, Historical Commission. So,
So the way it's written now is ambiguous. Without any further information there, we're not really saying anything other than telling the state, hey, heads up, this could be
Yeah.
something to look into.
and I feel like, to be honest, for all the stuff, this section, the MIPA is simply said, that's a quote, to make sure this is the most public, and I think that's about the Nyanza. We want the process to be
So are
the
you
most public.
satisfied with it the way it is,
Um,
this paragraph? And are you okay, Tricia, with it being ambiguous like that?
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I just thought
Okay.
maybe there was more meat there that we could use, but I didn't.
What I'm
follow it.
hearing, yeah, what I'm hearing is we're just highlighting this, it's almost like a spot check for the state. Heads up, there's
Which
MIPA.
actually, that is literally what it's for. There's a fail-safe mechanism about that there's.
But we're
so-
not taking a position, we're essentially just saying, here you go, MIPA could be an issue, look into it. That's how I'm interpreting this section.
I put, instead of the historic review, I just said buildings on the site are listed on the Massachusetts Historical Commission. the environmental sensitivity of the site warrants a particular review and transparency for the public, but you kind of already said that with the way you wrote it.
So are you okay with it,
so-
or do you want to change something?
Maybe just get rid of the historic one.
Just get rid of that last sentence
I think
entirely,
so.
and the blue?
Um,
Just get rid of everything that begins with "of note"?
I think so.
Okay, I'm getting rid of that sentence. Everybody's okay with that?
Yeah, I think this is just more an FYI kind of a thing, and
Okay,
it's something that's
Sentence is gone.
we looked into in case something missed it, right? So it's
I
not, you're not trying to.
These people get lots of applications, and I do not think that they will do the amount of work our planning board did to communicate about it, to be
Well, yeah,
honest.
no,
That's,
so the intention is
Yes.
to make sure that this is not missed.
Yes.
You don't wanna go deeper than that point.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
okay, done. I got rid of that sentence, including Trish's question, because that sentence is now gone. How do we feel about the Sudbury River comment? And the state regulations there?
From the last sentence, without a mill building, that is the mill buildings are removed, there is no need to reach a regulatory board can apply the exemption. What are we trying to say here?
So there is there's, like I said before, there's probably 50 environmental regulations about rivers, and I stopped writing down the citations. I looked at a lot of them. There's an exemption for historic mill complex.
So basically,
Which is-
if you have a mill complex, you don't have to have certain environmental issues.
But if you're taking down the
second
mill
you bring it down,
complex,
You have to use all these environmental regulations.
It's almost
So
like a
maybe we should be
pre-existing non-conforming, like a footprint.
Basically, once you do something other than a mill building, you gotta, I think the argument here is
That
then you're
exemption
stuck with
can't
all the
apply, yeah.
environmental stuff. I mean, I think that's there. This is more of like a legalese paragraph, but I suppose we can try to clean it up. Maybe we should say something like, if the complex proposed is no longer a mill building, arguably any exemption disappears and environmental regulations apply, right? I think that's what we're saying. How does that sound?
well, they do apply anyway, but I know what you're saying, it's close. Because even with a historic mill, there's plenty of environmental regulations that do still apply. So it,
I think what we're worried about is losing the extra protection. That's what you're saying, right? You remove them and then,
yes, they should,
Yeah.
if you take down the building, you don't get the extra
Right.
protection, yes.
Hold on. How is this? So the last sentence will just say, if the complex proposed is no longer a mill building, comma, arguably any exemption from the buffer zone requirements disappear.
The only
The
thing
buffer
that,
zone
about
requirements
that's
then
weird
apply.
and I
is
think
that it's not a mill building now. So that's just a little weird, but I mean, we can move on, you know what I'm
How is
saying?
it not a mill building now?
because it's not functioning anymore.
Yeah, I mean, that's,
So, so then we shouldn't have this section at all.
no, it could be misinterpreted the way it's wrote, but that's fine, just move on.
Is it the mill building?
I think the word
project
arguably is
type
enough.
Or the architecture?
The existing buildings, that's it. It's like the existing mill building.
I think, Anna, maybe to drive it home, maybe at the end just say comma, which would create an absurd result, like that's,
Yeah.
you can't just take away the building to get away from the protection so that there's not, like, that's the point of it, right?
Yeah.
Hold on. Technically, if you have a historic mill complex, you have an exemption to the buffer zone, which means that it's easier to do things within the buffer,
Yes.
okay? So the historic mill complex there gives you more flexibility within the
Yes.
buffer. If you remove the historic mill complex, you arguably have less flexibility in the buffer. So where's the absurdity? Because if anything, this project is making it more difficult for itself, if I'm reading this correctly. So I'm confused where the problem is.
Because if they're taking
Because essentially
down
what
the
we're saying
buildings-
is, if you take it down, you're actually looking at more environmental problem. Because I think the way the state envisioned this, big picture, is you're gonna have mill buildings all over Massachusetts. You can't possibly expect to protect the environment right next to the rivers, because we built mill buildings next to rivers
Yes.
historically. So we're gonna give local communities some exemption to the buffer zone, because where else did we build but next to rivers, right?
I
So-
think where you started with this argument and like where you're
Yeah.
coming to it, I wonder if like maybe we just don't
So-
touch it.
You cannot touch it, but it has been said that that has an exemption for a historic mill complex. It has been said by people to the
To
planning
your
board.
point is,
So,
it only is exempted as long as there's a
It
historic
exists,
building there,
yes.
which I think we've made that point by saying, once you remove it, you're no longer exempt. I don't know if it's absurd, it's just a fact. It's like,
Yeah.
you can't have it both ways. You can't just say, oh, I get an exemption because you're currently a mill building, except that you're no longer gonna be a mill building. Right? That's what
Yes.
we're saying.
yes,
I think that's there.
that's fine.
If the complex is no longer a mill building, the exemption disappears.
We're good. It's good.
It's way too logical, that's the problem. All right, conclusion, how do we feel about that?
I think on the sentence, it's number 1, the second sentence, that there must be significant first floor. I would like to say commercial instead of retail, because I don't think it needs to be limited to retail. I get that that's what people think, but I'm not sure it needs to be.
Can we say commercial/retail?
Commercial covers retail,
Yeah, it
though.
does.
It just,
Fine.
it's a bigger.
Commercial it is.
Should we put a quantity or kind of put a metrics to that previous sentence? The project must include more commercial space.
It would be
Which
nice.
What is
sentence?
that comparison that, should we put like, is there a percentage that was initially planned versus what is?
I
think
don't know
so.
if we
Right now
can.
they have what, yeah.
So I think the reason it's a little tricky is technically all the state can do, the state essentially, my understanding, and Peter can correct me if I'm wrong, the state either denies the application outright or grants it with conditions. I don't think our condition, and the conditions go to the zoning board of appeals, meaning, hey, zoning board of appeals, work with the applicant to negotiate these things. Hey, applicant, you have to go to the zoning board of appeals to work on more this, more that. I don't know if we can tell the state what that is, because that's between the zoning board.
Because a lot of these sentences in this conclusion has must include, must do this, must do that. I don't know if it's powerful.
I think we were trying to feed the conditions, right?
Yeah,
We were
this is
trying to tee
conditions.
up the conditions for the zoning board.
The reason we're saying must is we want the conditions to read, hey, applicant,
No,
you
we might
must
have
work with
housing.
the zoning board of appeals on more
Right.
commercial
Put
space.
conditions.
Are you envisioning like an actual number?
I feel like it needs to have some metrics. What does more mean? Is it 1,000 square feet, 500 square feet? What does more mean?
I think that's up to the zoning, I think that's up to the zoning board of
So if
appeal.
we don't know that, how do we try to say?
What if we said there must be first floor commercial retail, or commercial space
Similar to the
in all ground floor buildings of the project? Like, cause right now it's that one building.
One little, yeah.
Throughout, if we just say something like there must be commercial space throughout the ground floor buildings.
But it wouldn't make sense necessarily for them to be on the back building of the ground floor.
back building on the ground,
So throughout the ground floor buildings along Main Street.
How's this? There must be significant first floor commercial space along Main Street that encourages a walkable and pedestrian friendly environment.
'Cause
You
to
really wanna
Chico's
say
point, if
along the
they
entire
say
building?
There is significant
Yeah,
commercial space, one whole building is, like,
yeah.
must
what
be
we're saying is we
Trying to
want
put,
it
yeah.
on everything, and that's, you know, that's those, like, brownstone-y.
How's this? There must be
Entrances in that
significant
one,
first
and-
floor commercial space for the duration of the buildings visible along Main Street that encourages a walkable and pedestrian friendly environment. This is getting really ugly.
Along the length of Main Street.
There must be
Yeah,
significant first floor
sounds
commercial
good.
space
That's right.
along what?
Along the length of Main Street.
Along the length of Main Street that encourages a walkable and pedestrian friendly environment. Got it.
'Cause if
Okay.
you're thinking about it's that
Yes.
middle building that's the
Yes.
leasing office.
Deepa,
and
does
then
that work
it's
for you?
The units, yeah.
It's much more substantial.
Can we just
Defined.
have, on number 2, the downtown zoning height restriction of 3 stories, can we just stick the 38 feet in there? Because that's actually how our bylaw is written too. 3 stories, 38 feet as
Yeah.
measured from Main Street.
Sure.
And even the opening sentence, the scale of the proposed building massing must be made proportional and respectful of adjacent buildings.
I think it should be the scale of the proposed, I would put the scale of the proposed project, take out building massing.
Yeah.
Scale of the proposed project must be made proportional to and respective of adjacent buildings and just adding it.
Done. I stole Trisha's language. Got it.
And
Okay.
then letter A, it's missing, I think, the word must. As measured from Main Street must be respected, if we're gonna, it's the only one, what is
The downtown zoning height restriction of 3 stories, in parentheses, 38 feet as measured from Main Street, close parentheses, must be respected throughout the project.
Yeah, I think B is fine. And C, might be a question for Deepa here. I think the project, I was gonna say the project must, it's gonna take out also.
Must lessen. Got it.
The project must lessen the perceived scale using gabled or mansard roofs. Now, on our bylaws, we also allow flat roofs, but they need to be, or properly detailed flat roofs.
Well, this I stole from Marcelo's original.
I know, but it doesn't match our bylaws.
Can we say the project must also lessen the perceived scale with thoughtful design elements, or
It's
that's
too ambiguous.
Yeah, I know.
What's thoughtful
won't.
for one person? Yes.
We could say.
Just quote the bylaw.
Unique.
How about we say if there are flat roofs approved?
Or we just say that the project must lessen the perceived scale,
Using-
using roof types consistent with the bylaws.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
Nah. It's
Yeah.
not specific enough because then we're missing the whole argument Marcelo made earlier about the benefit of gabled or, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but our bylaws are about that.
You can say using gabled or mansard roof lines, comma, or a flat roof with appropriate detailing.
Or a flat roof consistent with our bylaws?
The bylaws basically say to have a flat roof, you need to come for a planning board.
Yeah, we don't want to say that. So I think,
Yeah.
I think this is done, it's.
I'm not a
more-
fan of saying consistent with our bylaws here
Yeah,
because
that's what I'm saying.
the whole
Don't-
project is.
I know.
The whole concept
It's
of
gonna,
40
it's gonna be a red
Right.
flag, please don't.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's my issue with this. I feel
Yeah.
like there was a lot of strength to the earlier argument
Yeah.
that Marcelo and Trisha's section had of like, flat is bad here.
So leave it
Well,
alone.
maybe we
See
leave
it
it
all.
because that's the argument, right?
That is there, yeah.
When
it's
we
fine.
when we allow for flat roofs, we have
Yeah, if you don't want a flat
discretion
roof,
over it,
don't
and we
do
have
flat roof.
very close oversight over it. We don't have close oversight here, so we're not.
So we don't want
We're
it.
going with the two things we are,
That's true.
we know
I
we're
said,
okay
let's
with.
ask for this and see what they do.
Wait, so this is about the massing and the scale. The next one is talking about kind of the
History and the surroundings.
history. So do you really need that C in this?
Yes.
It also talks about the colors and palettes, so it should the roof part of it.
Because
go
I
with
think
that
one is
section?
about size and the other one is about fitting with the neighborhood and the history. They're
Correct. So
slightly,
should the roof its roof is a feature sure.
You could go
Yeah.
both ways, because roof lines are mentioned again at paragraph C, 3C. I thought it's good to leave it twice, because
Mhm.
it's a very important detail to Marcelo's section, and it kind of relates to both. It relates to the size and scale, it also relates to the history, so we're saying it twice to really get it, like,
Because he makes two nuanced points. He
He
makes one
does.
on just the design and then one on the, this is a wall as you enter our downtown, and it doesn't work.
I just followed his,
I can
Yeah.
say, like, somebody heard that on the planning board and visually that, I think we kept that in and that made an impact.
they're interrelated, Deepa, to your point, but Marcelo really had them separated as separate
Yeah.
points.
Yeah,
And it just happens to be a really important point that relates to both.
so maybe it's revisiting that must also lessen the perceived skills, so.
Also, you think the also then makes sense, because you feel like it's adding more detail to
Yeah,
something
and
that's
it
already been
is
said.
correct.
So you want me to bring also back in C,
Maybe that's why it was there to begin with.
right here?
Yeah.
Okay, got it. It's back. All right,
I think I would take out, number 3, first sentence is fine. I think maybe I would take out take out the residential. So it's just new construction must provide more deference to the existing structures.
got it.
So it's like new
Yep.
versus existing.
Done.
And then after A, because of the comment Kate made about the third building, I would put in, at minimum, the project must preserve and repurpose the first 2 buildings and the chimney in their entirety. So we're not saying what they should do with the rest, but we're
Yep.
saying at minimum.
Yep.
Um,
Got it. Done.
I didn't mean for the red brick to be like so big, but that was what we liked about the scheme we
It
looked
seemed to
at,
be there,
that
yeah.
This scheme really seems to focus on imitating the gray versus adding in something new. We really were drawn to that. So that's why I had included it in the section I wrote. But it doesn't mean, it just says included, it doesn't mean it has to be the dominant. We're not asking that that has to be the dominant
Should we
feature.
take the must be used off? If what really attracted us was that materiality, we suggesting a similar concept, but we don't want somebody to force that
I know,
material.
'cause they'll
How about
this,
such
that
as?
thing.
Yeah,
How about several palettes of color material such as?
yeah, I think that's better.
Such as, it makes it slightly more vague. Such as red brick
Yeah,
must be
soften it,
used.
yeah.
It softens it so it's an option rather than a requirement. They come up with some better idea than red.
Yeah, got it.
So on the proposed conditions, should they ignore our wonderful letter and approve this? We had talked before about like local, having a local restriction for residency or preference, I'm sorry, not restriction, preference. And then, I don't know who I was talking to very recently, just today, so this is like a spectacular thing, that if that building, if part of that area became residential, that was like artist lofts or something, we're not losing the commercial part of that is now, and it's like spectacular. So like, I feel like we have to express some like marrying of the history and the use and the center of our downtown with the housing.
Yeah.
And that's the way to like kind of solve that tension and have something spectacular,
Well, that's not ideal.
I
I'm
think.
not sure how to capture that.
I know, I did,
Can you
I,
say it one more time,
this is
because
the
I've been
place where
busy
we
looking
get
for the
to
word
pass
shared.
What does that have to do with the
they're two separate things,
Oh.
asked.
Okay.
They're, I'm just bringing them up.
Okay, I thought they were connected. I thought-
Are they?
Got it.
So we don't need to mention that.
Yeah.
So that's part of the ZBA, okay.
Yeah, I would say that's part of the ZBA process, and I would say normally everything, Robert Hill Way, 12 Pond Street, all those, we requested a LIP, obviously a local initiative preference across the board. That's commonplace with all 40Bs.
I'm not sure about, I mean, I don't know point, what you were actually looking at writing down as far as the artist lots, but it seems like a point that we never discussed even remotely before, so how
I
does-
didn't say we did.
Yeah, so,
I
mean, so
understand.
Right. so I
It's a
was wondering
conclusion.
What is annotyping?
Well,
What's
so
that?
these are, we're saying, please don't approve this project, and if you do,
Yeah.
here
Here's
are
the conditions.
conditions we would like.
Yeah.
And I think that would be a spectacular condition to ask, because there's like marrying up the current commercial, a vibrant downtown with housing, with some ways such as
Okay.
artist lofts,
Okay.
such as.
That's all I was asking. I was like, how are you writing that so that we're not, like the red brick? I'm like, I just kind of threw it in there. We didn't talk about it. We didn't whatever. So, and I think it's that kind of thing. It's like, it's a such as, you know, as an ID.
It's a creative way of.
But it's and I think we have to phrase it that we're asking for creative ways to not lose the commercial and still,
Would that be another good point? Because wasn't, we only had one.
I really like the idea, I agree that it's a great concept, what I worry about is like putting it in the wrong document. Because this is so strong right now, just like it's technical.
Yeah,
I
I'm,
worry about inserting like a policy thing that is gonna happen in the normal course of the ZBA
I mean,
between
it
them and
won't-
the developer.
but I've read
Is that-
decisions, they can say, you shall do
You
this.
shall rent
Work
to
with the Z-
artists.
No, you shall work with the ZBA to do X, Y, and Z. So who's gonna give them that idea if we don't?
Couldn't that be under number one when we talk about commercial space? Because we even, I believe we shortened that, so we could add into it saying, you know, the creative uses, you know, creative means of providing commercial space, such as artist lofts, should be considered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, something like
Yeah.
that?
where are we?
Back at
Conclusion?
conclusion number one, that has to do with commercial space. And I know
I
we
would say
shortened it.
creative use is marrying commercial with residential, such as artist lofts, maybe.
That's fine.
I mean, just 'cause-
whatever,
Yeah, that's
Because,
the
because
idea
if we
that-
don't talk about housing,
No,
right, that's,
The
yeah.
idea of having that first floor being commercial is important to us.
Right.
And then the housing component, which we are not going to get rid of from, we are talking about a creative way of.
It'd actually be great if there was like a gallery on the bottom
Yeah.
and the
And it's
artist.
kind of that
The whole thing could be
industrial-
spectacular. I don't know, I
Yeah.
literally just had the conversation today, and I would have said something sooner if it wasn't, but when I was
Yeah,
like,
and still can bring that
oh my God,
industrial
this would be
vibe and that
amazing.
mill
Well, and it could be,
concept.
it could be makerspace, same thing. I'm saying artist,
Yeah,
but like,
yeah.
because people get that concept quicker, but
Yeah, no, it could be making something else.
it could be,
a tailor,
yeah,
right? Or it could be a dressmaker.
Yeah.
but specifically targeted toward like live, work.
Maybe we just create a second, its own thing.
What?
If point one is about sort of really wanting to delineate the first floor as commercial space, maybe we
Should that be just
we
like
make a new point two about.
No, it should one be placemaking and
Yeah.
then have commercial and the
That's,
other.
that's a good idea.
Yeah,
That's
so
another way to
give it an A
reframe
and a
one.
B. Right
Yeah.
now, it doesn't have an A or a B.
Yeah, you could do that, yeah. Or it's just like well, others don't have, but wonder if it should just be called placemaking.
I like that, because that goes with the whole theme of planning, it goes with the whole theme
So-
of housing, it goes with
Yeah.
commercial, like it's everything in one.
So the point one will be, due to its critical location in the heart of Ashland's downtown, the project must include more commercial space, period. Then there's gonna be A. There must be significant first floor commercial space along the length of Main Street that encourages a walkable and pedestrian-friendly environment. B. If this project is approved, we ask the state to require the applicant to work creatively for a living-working community, i.e. where artists can live above galleries. Just as an example. I was just kind of writing as you guys were talking. How do you want to frame that?
I feel like it could be a little stronger on the.
Okay.
But, no, it is the concept, just the wording could be stronger.
Okay.
On the second part, on the, like, so it's, we're capturing the vibrancy of commercial and providing housing. Like, something like that might get their attention. Because it fits with the whole theme, we're trying to preserve this, we're trying to have scale, we're trying to have commercial. Like, we can all envision something spectacular there. It's just, we don't control it. Yeah, it's a lot of work.
It's been a lot of work.
If this project is approved, we ask the state to ensure there's a combination of residential and commercial in a manner that ignites a creative downtown. For example, requiring the applicant to work for a living, working community where artists can live above galleries, or a similar synergy. Synergy? I just made that up. I don't even know if that's a
Yeah.
word.
Yeah,
Between commercial and residential space.
Yes, that's what I meant.
yeah.
The word synergy just felt fun right there. Here, I'll pass it over to you. Give it a shot.
There's something that needs to get replaced, live above galleries.
Yeah, that sounds a little
direct.
too,
It's
too a little
direct.
70s.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
No, it's too direct.
You don't want to become Burlington, Vermont quite yet? I gotcha.
Well, I mean,
We would
think
prefer it
about
to
if
be
that
like Burlington.
happened, that would be a major attraction. It still is in like
Is
Somerville,
there
and
any
places
reason
that
to
have
have, if
brick
this
bottom.
project is
Yeah.
approved, we ask the state?
Then just get rid of, yeah, just
You know,
get rid of that, yeah.
So we have to start marking.
Not
Because they'll be
I passed.
We're attaching some exhibits of places we
Oh, they
like.
will.
Please turn us into one of these communities, thank you.
Some
Like, if you're gonna do this to us, please make us cool. Please give my daughter a chance after college to want to come to Ashland and hang out and not go to Boston or Cambridge, that kind of thing. Make it so that our teenagers have a spot to hang out other than their bedrooms or downtown,
Yeah.
somewhere else. That kind of thing. Make it cool. Make us hip.
Stowe Park.
Make
That-
us,
That could be the place.
make us cool. If you're gonna destroy a downtown, make it cool. Period. Hashtag destroy but cool. Yeah.
Those are the T-shirts they have to make for that Sub-Zero. You know,
So what do, so look at you, what do we have to do to like complete
Peter's like,
this to get it out
hashtags,
the door?
yeah. What?
What do we have to do to complete this to get it out the door?
We're gonna.
No, I mean,
Trish
it's
is
like,
gonna
this is
perfect
amazing,
those
but
two
probably
sentences.
someone has to do like spell check, scrub all that.
I just did that. I did the
Um,
spell check. I highlighted a couple of more blanks that Peter
Well,
did
that's
pick
what
up
I'm
on.
Yeah, I'm
And
worried
I
about
already
that stuff.
looked for the shared
Yep.
versus subsidized.
You already took care of that.
You did?
No,
I did. I did. And then Peter already sent me the addendum. So I think the only thing that needs to happen after Tricia is done is on that first page, I highlighted a couple dates that Peter had not filled in because they were not yellow before. You wouldn't have noticed them.
So we
Oh,
only have one exhibit which we have to create? Is that true?
Peter already exists. Peter already sent me the addendum.
already sent it to her.
He sent me the addendum. I can open it and show it around.
But we were gonna put some footnotes or whatever on them, or we decided not to?
I'll look, we can open his addendum and make sure we
Okay.
like it. The addendum should say, from the 2023 memo, from today's memo.
We,
But I already referenced that.
okay, we only have one? No, I feel like
Yes,
this
we only
needs-
have one exhibit. I
Okay.
think originally we thought of attaching, Peter had suggested the last meeting that we attach the preferred site plan from the last, the very, very last presentation we had from the original project, had the
Mhm.
version of the site that we all liked. It's the March 2023 one. I don't know if we still have it anywhere, but we thought of attaching that for the state so that the state could see what that looks like. The one that we liked. Does
Then,
that ring a
okay,
bell?
so I'm looking at, this might be an old one, sorry, better, no,
Peter,
this
do
is
you
the
still
one-
have
new-
all those photos?
So on the very first page, one where we have like reference
Yeah.
materials, the third bullet point up says Exhibit C, activity notice of activity, lose the deed restriction, the ALU deed restriction. And it's called Exhibit C, so we need to change that.
Good point, because originally we had talked about what to attach as exhibits. So we'll clean that up in a second, once Trish is done editing that sentence. Because right now, our only exhibit is the addendum and maybe the site plan from March.
Thank you.
So really, it's gonna be A and B, two attachments.
So we do, this does
Addendum A?
still say Exhibit C.
Right, we'll get rid of that.
And you got rid of that in the
No,
text
we
too.
will. We will
Okay.
in a second, when Trish is done.
No, in the text and the reference.
We'll have to get rid of it
Okay,
with
no,
both.
I'm just,
Yeah,
sorry.
I haven't gotten rid of it anywhere. I haven't touched the exhibits. You're suggesting that we need to edit the exhibit list, and you're right, and that has not
I'm
been
also
edited.
suggesting, because the latest version I have in my hand, which I was handed, it refers to Exhibit C on page 11.
Right, which we'll have to edit right now, yeah.
So how does this sound? There must be a creative combination of residential and commercial functions that energizes downtown. For example, live workspaces such as artist lofts or similar spaces that create synergy between residential and commercial. Sorry, someone refer, take another pass at it.
Thursday,
Work,
it's
live,
pretty good.
eat, is that what we need? No restaurants,
No, we're not saying that.
just checking. Just, no, I think what do you have there?
Just
is
live,
good.
work, and gave one example,
Yeah,
right?
that's good. Too much combination. That's great.
Sorry, I got distracted by something that is not related to this project. Okay.
Okay, so what did you decide while I was focusing on that?
We
I'm just trying to
decided
figure out what we have
fix
to do to
the
get it out the
list.
door, and,
Yeah,
yeah.
what are the next steps?
I have to tell you, the biggest thing we're gonna fix is this document is full of 2 spaces between each period and the start of a sentence, which is like a very 90s thing.
That I was trained.
I was also
Me
thinking
too.
that.
Yes.
So this ages us
It's an
way,
age
like,
thing now.
yeah, somebody's gonna have to make us way younger, but anyway, that is
Do you
probably
think
the most
anyone's
important.
gonna notice that?
Yes,
Or can we just be old?
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
I still like the 2 spaces.
I do too.
I do.
I know.
One feels very
Poor
crowded
these-
to me.
Yeah.
Are you one space? You're smiling. Are you one spacer too?
Yeah, one
oh,
space
she's
is-
totally one space,
Super
she's
efficient,
way
modern.
younger.
I didn't even know it was something like 2 spaces.
I'm
It's
more
all
that
that-
way.
All right, actual
hold on.
exhibits,
So,
actual exhibits,
I just created that one addendum. That's all
addendum,
set.
great.
Um,
We have an addendum. Then we have exhibits. Let's see, I'm gonna search this for exhibit.
Is this an exhibit?
I think that's on the list, isn't it? That should be.
Yes, that is the exhibit.
Yeah. See, this was done by the same hand that did the, I think.
Site
Mhm.
plans.
That did the
Trisha,
site.
can I see that? 'Cause I think I wasn't on the board at the time. I'm just
Oh,
curious.
that was great. Peter Wamblet.
So there's this.
So did you want to attach the deed, Kate?
The only reason I would is I doubt they're gonna look it up, but we gave them enough information to look it up.
Fine, I'll just say see activity notice.
But I don't think we have to.
No deed is attached now. Got it. So I got rid of all references to Exhibit C because there is no exhibit anymore. So,
But the important thing is the site plan. All that-
materials reviewed and referenced. Can I suggest a section that's gonna say materials attached, so there's no
We
confusion?
finally got.
And the materials
this back, and it was
attached are
victory.
addendum A.
Versus just things you're mentioning.
Exactly. Addendum A, addendum A. What the hell is addendum A? Charts,
Charts.
SHI charts.
Mhm.
And addendum B, which is the preferred, what did we call it? It
I
had
think
a
it's called
name.
the new elevation concept, and that is, or concept, it's March 7th, 2023.
Yeah, I think we already called it something else, so I'm gonna make it, I'm just gonna cut and paste it from the prior list, so it's consistent.
And I'm gonna restate this as addendum B.
You got addendum A and addendum B, and those will be attached. So it looks like that. It looks like this, guys. We start with the materials reviewed and referenced, and then we have materials attached, addendum A and B, and then the introduction.
Yep.
So it's very, very clean as to what we're attaching. And Peter, are you comfortable attaching addendum A and B to this? Like, I'm just gonna,
Yeah, so I think we should go through the first page and ask me the questions, fill
Okay.
out the letters.
sure,
Send
what's
it
the,
to me, I'm gonna print it, the signature block.
I mean, we're signing it on the spot right
We're gonna
now.
sign on the
So-
spot tonight.
That's exciting. So
Hold
to,
on, can I say one thing? And
Yes.
I know we can't necessarily hold it up, but we were hoping and thinking the select board
Oh, yes.
reference to the downtown investments, and I do think that's extremely. I'm sorry, I do think that's extremely important to have that reference, and we were gonna maybe hold this open to
We
see.
can also make it more ambiguous. We can say,
There is one section that kind of heavily relies on it. Where was it?
Well, because it goes with that planning theme.
I agree that it's very important. I was hoping something like that would exist, but we have no idea if they're preparing it or not.
I know, I'm
So it's
just,
hard
I'm
to reference it.
looking at my notes.
I think in light of the fact that it doesn't exist, we either have to reference it and somebody has to create it overnight, which I can do with someone's help. I can't do it on my own because I literally don't know where to look. Like, where would I find all the financial information about how much we've invested?
I think
No clue.
It's page 4.
And I don't even have that, I don't have that information. You know, most of the stuff came from Mass Works grants with prior to my arrival in Ashland, you know, how it was all done.
So our economic
The
development
total.
office wouldn't have it?
They should, I would think, if it's.
Are we referencing the elevation in an addendum? Is that?
The elevation? What do
I
you
don't
mean?
think so.
It's just addendum A?
Addendum A and addendum B.
What's
Addendum
addendum?
A is the chart
Yeah.
with
Mhm.
two
And
SHI.
the
Addendum B is the site plan that we liked from March of 2023.
Which site, just the site, that's not a site plan.
Not the site
elevation.
plan, sorry, the elevation
Okay, so
visual,
that's what I-
sorry. Yes.
So one of the things, just to note, just in case we need to tweak anything, one of the things that was an issue with this,
Was the
Is-
height.
it was the height,
Yeah.
right?
That's when this whole thing backed out.
Yes.
Was at least a starting point because the height, moment we talked about height.
It was something we were trying to figure out.
Yeah.
It's like, how can we get it, that's where we got kind of stuck. How can we get it lower? How can we make it work?
Yeah.
But they never came back to the table on it.
Yeah.
Because we were all like, oh. I mean, there were meetings after this, I think.
Which updated the elevations with less glazing, the ratio of glazing
Yeah.
changed, and then
Yeah. They
when
were-
the conversation on height came, that's when.
Yeah.
How tall is it?
There's
Peter,
no
while we're
dimension given
chatting,
on
I'm
it,
gonna hand
but
this
it
over
looks-
to you,
I'm just gonna
so you
go
could,
over
so you can start looking at the yellow stuff.
But it looks like
Demolition double L was in 2000.
with there's 3 stories of living space and then roof above that. So, but there isn't a dimension given.
Excuse me, so, I'm sorry, the demolition demolition bylaw
It's
is
probably
chapter
taller.
No, I know, yeah.
125
I'm
of
just
the
saying.
general bylaw.
Yeah, yeah.
If it doesn't say,
It doesn't say.
Right here.
And
Okay,
it
Because it's
demolition
just a
bylaw.
sketch. It was
Of
just a
20,
sketch.
of what?
Nope, is
So why are
chapter
we including it?
125
I'm just
of
I
the
don't
general
know.
bylaws.
Crap, I'm sorry. And why am I not, do you really want to name the do you think the chapter is necessary?
I think that just kind of goes back to that conclusion one where you have the roof line conversations, the texture, materiality.
What-
I think that chart just goes to connect with the conclusion.
I just didn't know because there's lots of other things we were looking at. I mean, the plan, you know, we have a plan too, right, of this. And why is this part of our addendum versus just in our list of documents is
I'm
my
not
question.
disagreeing with that.
yeah, I think that might be better, because like,
I say let's not.
Yep.
The only thing I like about it is it does honor like preservation of certain things, including the red, like the red is nice, but,
Oh, no, this is,
but yeah,
but I'm just like, why is it,
If people really want, if someone wants to
see it, that's
have a
fine.
conversation.
I could get rid of it. So there's
Yeah.
just one addendum A.
was like, why are we pulling this out of all the drawings,
Because
including the ones?
it probably might not be what either any of us would design too, right? It's better than other things we saw, but it wouldn't be.
So we'll get rid of it.
so
Well, I'm just saying, this as in, you know, if we're saying, hey, this is a solution,
I'm
and then it's
afraid
like,
that they'll-
this
yeah.
isn't your 38 feet,
Yeah.
right? Like you
that's
kept,
true.
So Peter, you fixed the demolition
so we're
one,
we're
right?
telling him to do something that doesn't work, according to the letter we just wrote.
Well, I'm afraid they'll say we want
So I'm getting rid of addendum.
true either.
True, true.
Addendum B is now gone.
That's where we all thought, hey,
There's no more
maybe we
addendum
can
B.
create something cool here. We all kind of took a breath, I think. and-
September 1st, 2020.
Okay.
9/1.
All right, so the only addendum will be the housing thing.
One. So the only thing left now is the memo from the town of Ashland doesn't exist, so I think we just have to take it out for now. It's literally doesn't exist.
I mean,
Yeah, take it out. It's a question.
so the question is, I mean, we can sign tonight. Marcelo's not here. Sorry, we could sign it tonight and Marcelo's not here, so that means it is quote open for some point in time. Is he like, hopefully he's not away
Yeah, no.
in that time frame when it's due to be signed? I don't know if he's available. I didn't have conversations, but
I'm dating this today. On top, it says May
I think
23rd.
that's reasonable.
It's our last meeting, it's our meeting.
I think we just date it, sign it, I take it 10 to May, and I scan it in tomorrow. Alvaro scans it in tomorrow, and we send it to the town manager's office.
Yeah, because I mean, wouldn't we sign it whether that thing is in
Yeah,
there or
it-
not? We would, right? We just,
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, it would buy time to leave it open if we were changing it. Because we got some information that we think is important. I think it's important, but if we don't,
but I think we can, I don't know if it's a vote, we can sign it saying that there's this one section that may be still added in. It's all a factual section. The town spent this much money.
yeah.
It's not like a, something
I
that's
mean-
objective.
That I'm fine with that. I personally would not be going through to remove the extra spaces, because unless you can do that automatically.
I'm not
Yeah.
worried about the extra spaces. I'm
But
making
I
sure
imagine
no-
there's some still not 100% correct, like, stuff. It just,
Oh, I'm
it's,
sure.
so are we saying we're closed and it's gonna go out if there's some errors anyway? And are we gonna try to fix that? I don't know. I'm just saying that much live editing, and all the
You're
work with,
wondering if someone's gonna do a scrub after we sign here tonight.
I think we should talk about it anyway.
Well, is anyone volunteering their time?
So-
That they have
so-
time to do that?
So here's my thought. I don't think it hurts for one more read-through by somebody. On the
Mhm.
other hand, it's pretty damn strong and
It
probably
is,
stronger
no.
than we
Yeah.
are gonna get.
And we seem to
From
have
most
covered pretty
towns?
much every line item.
Yeah, I would just imagine with all that live editing and coming in that there's something wonky still. I would be shocked if there's not, right? And I would prefer to have it,
Would you like to read through it, Kate, one more time?
I mean, I guess, yeah.
The editor's
so-
score is 83, which isn't bad.
Not bad.
And there's no spelling errors as of this moment.
Is it picking out?
But it
grammar
could be a
errors?
spelling error that's not a
83 editor's
spelling
score,
error,
So
right?
there are some grammar issues.
We'll pick out the easy grammar issues and then.
So, but let's just say, when we had shared housing,
not-
that was a spelling error, but it's not a spelling error. So maybe there's nothing in there, but,
The grammar so far is random dates or a title that's not particularly, Ashland has been planning for its unique downtown. We're not gonna change that. Small town should have a line. So I don't think it's anything major.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's a review of glaring things, but if some, I just can't say I have time to do that, or the energy to do that this weekend, so. But if someone else,
My eyes are gonna see it anymore
yeah,
because of like the pass through that.
yeah.
I have to
And then-
tell you, between me and Amanda and Trisha and this group, I think this is pretty damn clean, in my opinion.
I'm sure, like
good.
Kate says,
Um,
there's stuff in there, but if I read it through 5 times, I bet I'd find something every time
Yeah.
that I didn't quite
The
like
only
that
thing-
time.
Yeah.
The only
You know?
addendum I would suggest we add is the September SHI memo from September of 2023 describes a lot of the effort of Ashland to get
Yeah.
to SHI in a very
Okay.
detailed, strong fashion. I
Yeah.
would attach it as exhibit,
I have that as a
Good idea.
PDF.
Okay,
if
so
that's
it's,
okay.
I have that as a PDF,
okay,
and like, I think we just sign it, send it to me, I'll print the letterhead, letter block, and we just, we can sign it, and then we're gonna attach everything and go.
Yeah, so so addendum A would be what you emailed me, which we'll look at shortly.
Yep.
And addendum B will be that September 1st SHI memo,
And I can,
because that memo does a really good job telling the state the history of all of our effort. In fact, it might include a reference to downtown funding. It might.
Does it have a chart in it that can?
It does, the old chart.
Okay, but it's
Which-
dated, that memo
But it's
is
from
dated in an
September,
earlier date.
exactly. I just think it's a strong way to resolve this issue of economic investment in downtown, because I'm pretty confident that it has a little paragraph on it. Okay, I think this looks ready. I just need to email it to Peter. Okay? I know
Yeah.
that seems scary.
So
And
Peter,
then we're
are
gonna
you-
look at
Are
exhibits
you
A
in
to B.
tomorrow, with whatever that needs to be done, or you're not in tomorrow?
no, I'm not in tomorrow, but Alvaro's in tomorrow, so him and I are just, I'm working from home tomorrow
Okay, so
for a
you're in
couple
communication
hours.
too.
Yeah, I'm just gonna be home for a couple hours with and Alvaro will be in the office.
Okay.
And then I was just, I'll package everything up. I think we sign it. It's dated. I'll package it up. I'll even scan it tonight before I walk out of here, so I have the PDF and I can submit it to Michael tomorrow.
And you're gonna print out the signature page that we can
I'm gonna
sign?
print out this, and once Anna sends me that, just so we have the dates, the page numbers correct.
I'm attaching it to Peter.
Okay.
And I'm sending you the September 1st memo.
Which will be addendum B. I don't know if you need to send it to me. We just need to
Print it.
attach it, print it, yeah. And then we all need to print addendum A as well.
I can take care of that.
All right, so while we're finishing this up, why don't we work simultaneously, and I will
Okay.
open it up to public comment, because I assume that's why Mark's here, but it's 3 minutes and one time to the mic. Because it's 10:15, Mark.
Well, at Margaritaville, it's 5 PM somewhere. Okay, Martin Sony, 49 Hawthorne Road. Congratulations. You worked, got data, got detailed, and it sounds officially ready to go. When I was last here, I gave you people a B minus because you didn't have all that. Now you're at A because you got it all. And you talked it through as a group. You became a two-way street. Understood each other, talked to each other, got the subjects up there, and cracked it through like a walnut with a scroll. You did good. I appreciate this. And I hope the state appreciates what the work you've done. That's it, less than 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mark. All right, so, our signature is just gonna be, because Marcelo is in here, so I think our signature is gonna be our support of the document, right? Because I hate to take a vote that doesn't include Marcelo, right? We don't need to vote on this letter, is what I'm saying.
I think we should.
You
just
think we should?
because-
I think that is like sort of the way we behave informally, so I think it's good that way.
Okay,
Um,
that's fine.
But otherwise, yeah, the endorsement's the signature, but presumably we aren't gonna say, because we took a vote, 4 of us is good enough.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
so, I
I
mean,
mean,
but there's one absence,
but-
so, but I think,
Yeah,
so,
Can I
Oh.
clarify, I was wrong on, the 23 memo does not mention the investment in downtown. I was
Okay.
wrong, just so we're all on the same page. But we should still attach it because it's helpful.
all right, so planning board vote, is it just the 4 of us, and then Marcelo is absent?
Yes,
Is that,
but in this case, I mean,
because it's not site plan review or special project, I mean,
Is-
I think.
well,
Amanda
according
can
to the
vote.
bylaws, the
or not.
associate member only votes
Oh,
on
you can
special
only-
permits.
Gotcha.
So I'm
so
Okay,
but-
understood.
on the vote, but you're still on here.
on the
sign.
signature.
Sweet,
But
I'll
just,
sign and not vote.
yeah,
Yeah.
that
Okay.
works.
all right, Kate, make a motion if I'm not pressuring you to do so.
I make a motion that the May 23rd, 2024 memo of the Ashland Planning Board regarding the proposed Sanctuary at Ashland Mills project, 10 to 50 Main Street, is approved by the planning board.
I'll second that.
And a roll call vote.
Deepa Venkatai.
Anna Tesmanitsky, aye.
Catherine Jersey, aye.
And Tricia Kendall, aye. And Amanda, if you could vote, what would your vote be? Aye. Awesome. Now we have that on the record. Okay. Item 7 on this agenda, I think I can, oh, well, let's go back.
Can we just go and close those?
Yeah, I assume we don't want to take those up this evening. All right?
I'll go.
All right.
I make a motion that the 6 Chestnut Street site plan approval application be continued to June,
I think it's June 13th.
June 13th meeting, subject to an extension of the time frame to June 28th.
Wait, didn't we already continue Chestnut Street? It's 151 Main that we?
We didn't
Both.
continue either.
Oh,
Yeah.
I apologize.
So we need a second.
I'll second that. I'll second it.
And a roll call vote.
Deepa Venkatai.
Anna Tesmanitsky, aye.
Catherine Jersey, aye.
And Tricia Kendall, aye. So that's continued to the 13th, 151. Anyone?
I'll make a motion to continue 151 Main Street site plan approval application to June 13th, 2024.
And is there a second?
Second that.
Roll call vote.
Deepa Venkatai.
Anna Tesmanitsky, aye.
Catherine Jersey, aye.
And Tricia Kendall, aye. So yay. Okay, now we're at item 7. This is planning board reorganization. Obviously, elections were earlier in the week, and this is the time of year when we do this, but we always do it with a full board. Number 1, I didn't know Marcelo was going to be done. And number 2, I figured our meeting would be full, and we should all have some time to think about this versus just doing it. So obviously, this is just a heads up. I asked Peter to put it in here because I thought of it at the last minute as a heads up so that we should talk about this on the 13th.
I'm not going to be that.
And you're not going to be here on the 13th.
I'm sorry. I'm traveling.
You're traveling, okay. Well, let's get there and then, so maybe it'll be, maybe we'll put it, it's nice to have a full board, obviously, when we do this, so it might be later in June,
Yeah.
if no one objects to that. All right.
Sounds like a plan.
I don't think there's any hard and fast rules. All right, so reports,
I just want to, particularly the comprehensive plan, you probably heard, but in September-ish, we do not have a date, the JM Goldson team wants to have another similar meeting with the planning board, select board, comprehensive plan steering committee.
okay.
So we'll have to figure that out.
Well, it's nice to do it once the school year starts, because it kind of guarantees that most people are around. You're kind of back to fall, so versus August, it would be tricky, I would bet, getting everybody here.
I think they did say September, right? We didn't pick a date.
I wasn't there,
Oh,
but I
that's
believe
right.
you.
Okay.
But I just wanted to get that on the radar screens coming up.
I have kind of a, let me see here. Comprehensive design review, sustainability, CPC. The MBTA working group, we met, was it earlier this week or was it last week?
Last week.
Yeah. So we're just starting up again to take care of things, but I just want people let people know there's nothing else really to report there. Just starting our process. And the other thing I wanted to say here, I'm not sure what group it fits under, is just that in talking to Claudia on the select board, she just mentioned a good idea. She thought it would be a really nice idea to have some kind of select board, planning board retreat, for lack of a better word, a time to brainstorm, a time to get to know each other better, especially with the new select board member. And I thought that sounded like a great idea, so I was just kind of throwing it out there as food for thought, and we'll get back to that obviously at a later
Sounds like a
date.
good idea.
Yeah, so. Does anyone have anything else to add in items 8, 9, or 10? That's including you, Peter, if you have any.
I can tell you right now, I am attending and I will be a panelist at the MERC conference, which is the Framingham State Economic Development Conference, and so I'm doing that. And then also, I had a good meeting out at 12 Pond Street today to start talking about when sidewalks are gonna go in. Mass DOT has finished some of the night paving over on Pond Street, so it's looking pretty good over there. So that will hopefully take place fairly soon regarding the installation and the kind of completion of that front building. So I think that was a good thing. I just gotta see a list of anything else. I'm sorry. Starbucks is going, Starbucks continues on, you know, I think we're still cruising towards that date of July.
When is the ribbon cutting where we're gonna all stand and look at our faces on the mural? Just kidding.
I think it's still gonna be July. And then, Village of the Americas, I've been in contact with 100 Chestnut Street, kind of going back and forth. Obviously, windows are being put in, Tyvek's on one of the bigger buildings. That is moving along. Siding is gonna go up. It's gonna be on site. And I'm going to set up a meeting to go up there once the siding is on site, so we can go up with the approved plans and make sure everything is what it was supposed to be. So that is happening and taking place, and there is oversight on that.
Okay. Questions, anybody?
Nope.
Yes, we need to go through meeting minutes. I have read these, I'm good, I've read them already.
These are minutes that they were sent out, right?
Yes,
Okay,
Yes.
because I read them all, then
Yeah.
I didn't know if there
I
was
didn't
any-
have anything to.
I'll make a motion to approve April 18th, 2024 minutes as is.
Is everyone
Second.
good with that? Everyone?
Sorry.
I just stared at everyone, they seemed
Okay.
ready. Sorry. Sorry.
Stared at everyone.
They just seem like either they're okay or don't care.
Gotta move
so-
on, Anna, that's what they were saying. Okay. All right. Was there a second
A second,
and a roll call vote?
Deepa Venkatai.
Anna Tesmanitsky, aye.
Catherine Jersey guy.
And Tricia Kendall, aye. So the 18th, I think that was the planning board meeting at the comprehensive plan, right? And then the 25th was our own meeting,
Correct.
I believe, in that order.
Yep. And then there's gonna be another set of minutes that comes out. There was a tree bylaw. There was a tree bylaw meeting.
Oh, that's right.
Okay.
So I'm gonna grab, we're doing it, we're gonna grab sustainability's minutes and just kind of put them together.
Okay.
And
For-
take care of that.
For the April 25th minutes, on page 4, line 156, it says, Ms. Tesmanitsky reported that they are wrapping up the comprehensive plan comment period. I just want to add that it should say the most recent comprehensive plan comment period, because there will be
Okay.
many more, and I don't want the minutes to imply that there's only one. So it should read, wrapping up the most recent comprehensive plan comment period.
Perfect.
Other than that, I had no changes.
Okay.
Anyone else? Tricia, you're good?
I'm good, yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve April 25th, 2024 minutes with the change I proposed.
Second that.
And a roll call vote?
Deepa Venkatai.
Anna Tesmanitsky, aye.
Catherine Jersey guy.
And Tricia Kendall, aye. Okay. And then just going back to upcoming meetings, our next meeting is on June 13th, so that is a 3-week break, people. Get some rest. And then, but just to highlight the legislative breakfast, which is happening the very next day, and that's open to anybody, right?
Yeah, that
Anybody on
is
the board?
open to anybody. I know last year, Tricia, you came, I believe?
Yeah.
It was over in Framingham at the at the, I'm blanking, I'm sorry. But
Doesn't matter
this
where it
year,
was.
yeah, this year it's obviously at the Marlborough Town Hall, Public Library.
Yeah, so just highlighting to give people a little bit more of a heads up, because it's just the day after, the morning after. our-
Usually state
next
senators are
meeting.
there, it's kind of a legislative breakfast.
Yeah.
State senators are invited and from the local area, House representatives are usually invited. It's a meet and greet, and it's okay.
So, Peter, what do we have to
So
sign
in front of us tonight,
here?
we have I'm just gonna grab two copies of the letter, and when we stand up, we're gonna sign the A&R too.
Two copies of two copies
yeah.
of the letter we just went through, and then the drawing.
Do we need to sign before we adjourn?
Yes, no, we
No.
can sign after.
Okay.
Okay, motion to,
I'll make a motion to adjourn at 10:27 PM.
Second that.
roll call vote,
Deepa Venkatai.
Anna Tesmanitsky, aye.
Catherine Jersey guy.
Amanda, please.
and Tricia Kendall, aye. Let us sign stuff.
Yeah. I have a blue.